All right, the live stream is up.
Is the audio on now?
Mine's.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our July meeting of the Pardons Advisory Board. Please start by muting yourself. I'm going to make some remarks and some notes for everyone attending. So please turn off video and audio until it is your turn. So again, welcome. Know that this is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye. And I am Leslie Freehill. I'm Deputy Legal Counsel for Governor Evers. Joining me are 4 members of our Pardons Advisory Board. I'm going to introduce them now. First, we have Reverend Jerry Hancock. He's the Director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, Deputy District Attorney, and an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. Next, we have Judge Jeffrey Kremers, Attorney General Josh Paul's nominee to the board, who served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, serving as chief judge for 7 of those years. He retired in 2018. Next, we have Reverend John McVicker, Sr. He is the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He additionally serves as board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. And finally, we have Cindy O'Donnell, who served as Deputy Secretary of the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCollum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. So next, I have a few housekeeping items and reminders for all of the applicants in attendance. As I mentioned, this hearing is being live streamed on WisEye and YouTube. Please mute yourselves and keep video off until it's your turn to help ensure that the audio and visual quality is good for the live stream. If you run into IT issues, please don't worry. Someone from staff will give you a call and the board will return to your hearing once the issues are resolved. So again, if you run into IT issues, that happens really each time, we will work to resolve them and make sure that you can be heard at today's hearing. Know that we will call people up in the order that they are listed on the open meetings notice. When we call you, you will have 3 to 5 minutes to share your story and answer the questions we sent in advance of the meeting. As a reminder, those are a brief summary of your offenses and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement and employment, and finally, a brief statement about why you think you should receive a pardon. Again, we ask you to share this information within 3 to 5 minutes. Note that I will prompt you if we're running over time because we have to make sure that we have time for the board members to ask questions. The board may or may not have questions after you have finished speaking. Please don't read into this and know that the board has received all of your application materials in advance and has had the opportunity to review them. Once the board is done asking questions, you're welcome to sign off the Zoom hearing. Once everyone is heard in a group, the board will meet in closed session to decide whether to recommend your application to the governor. You will need a majority support of the board members present. The governor will either accept or reject that application. Either way, you will be notified in about a month or 2 from today. With that, I'd like to call up our first group of applicants, starting with our first, Darren Johnson. Mr. Johnson, if you could, I think I see you there on video. If you could unmute yourself, you can take it from there.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay, thank you. Darren Durant Johnson. I am trying to get a pardon for an offense that I had in 19 95. It was arson of a building without consent, which means I'm the one that started that fire. Some of the things that I do remember that evening that I had, it was a couple long days of alcohol and drug use. That led up to that. My wife had moved with her mother and my newborn baby. And I remember leaving the house, going to my grandparents. My grandparents put me back in the car, took me right back over, and I met with the fire department and the police officers. And the next day they booked me, and 6 years probation. I've already done the community service because I worked for the neighborhood intervention program, but I did continue to do that. Plus I got involved in NA and AA, did a lot of counseling. Yeah, so what led to that was probably 10 years before that when I had a real bad injury down at the university. I played college football, tore my Achilles, and dropped out of school and went back to the neighborhood. And the easiest thing for me was to hide, use alcohol and drugs. And what I've learned is this is what's going to happen. So today I'm still alive. You know, I'm still married to my wife. We got 2 beautiful kids. But yeah, those are some of the things I remember. The work that I've done since then, I mean, I worked at Capital Newspapers. I was a circulation manager for about 13 years, but I always coached and went back to the neighborhood and worked with the kids. And then me and my wife bought a house in Cottage Grove, and I started volunteering, and the principal asked me, did I want to come back and get back into it? So I started out as a special ed assistant, working with kids with disabilities, cognitive, behavior, and then I coach football, and we're talking 16 years ago. I'm still doing this. Coach football. I coach all the middle school sports, and Glacial Drumlin opened up 2008, and I've been there since. My new position is student and family engagement specialist. So I work with school psych, social worker, guidance counselors, and our administration team. Summer responsibilities is just getting all my clubs together and knocking on people's doors and visiting my kids and the families, delivering food baskets, which I'll be doing next week, saying hi to some of the families, getting them ready for school, seeing what they need. Yeah, I've done a lot of work with that, but I think from the injury and the drug use and the stuff that I've learned, this was my, this was going to happen to me because I didn't take care of myself, but I was good in sports, but I just didn't take care of my body. So whether I played sports or not, I think I was going to be working with kids and families. And yeah, that's all I've been doing since then. Let's see what else. As far as a pardon, yeah, I've thought about this because I did the work right away and I knew what my problem was. So a long time ago, I figured that I should have been pardoned. Whether or not I didn't get it or not, I'm still going to continue to do the work. But I think I can make a difference in our district and in some other people's districts. If I get this off of my record, then I can move up to the administration team. Right now, I'm on student services. So if I can move up to administration and then start to go to some of these conferences with some of these people from other districts, so I can bring that back to my district, that will help me. And another big thing, and I think the reason why they haven't put me on there yet is because of this offense, is everywhere I go, people tell me that I should have been in the Madison Athletic Hall of Fame a long time ago. I get it. I was a great high school athlete. I didn't go to college, but when I did, I had a bad injury. okay. But as far as high school and what somebody did in the city of Madison to help people, people to look up to, and to this day, the best all-around athlete, this is what people are telling me that I'm probably one of. So I just think that with this on my record, that's what people are looking at. Danny didn't go to the next level. He had a bad injury. He got in drugs. He had a fire in his apartment. Okay. All right. I dealt with that. Right. So now for something to happen, so this can help other people, so this don't happen, I'd like to do more in education. I love what I'm doing, but I do think I can make a difference in the admin part and in the district level. So
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Now I will open it up for board questions.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Johnson, if I read the records correctly, it looked like you had a trial in this case.
absolutely.
Why?
Go ahead.
No, my question is why? You say you accepted responsibility right away. I'm just wondering why you had a trial.
I don't remember. I just remember the attorney, because I had never maybe gotten in trouble or something like that, was the one. I just remember talking to the police department, and I had an attorney the next day, and they said, you just need to get in treatment and get going again.
And did you testify at your trial?
No.
Okay. And how much restitution did you pay in this case?
I want to say 40 grand.
And you paid all of that yourself?
Yeah, me and my wife, yes.
And my last question is, I don't remember what my last question was. So never mind. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Johnson, can you briefly tell us about your relationship with Rainey Briggs?
I grew up on South Madison. So Rainey was one of the kids that I've mentored and brought up since middle school. So this is a person that we speak every day. And yeah, his kids call me Uncle Danny. And so when I worked for Neighborhood Intervention Program, Rainey was on those teams. And when I would go to those neighborhoods to pick up those teams, I'd go get him, and then we'd get in the van and go get the other kids. Rainey did not want to go back into Somerset Circle. Rainey seen something bigger than that. So Rainey stayed in the van, and he went home with me and my wife. So
Wow.
he lived with me for a long time. In the summer, when he came home from Mankato State, he would stay with me and my wife. And yeah, we talk almost every day. So he'll be here next weekend. And if you know him, I will tell him that you said hi.
Okay. And were you coaching the Southside Raiders? Is that?
I've done Raiders, but most of it, I was Madison Spartans. So we were a big AAU basketball program, and we traveled all over the country. So after Rainey's team, which was one of the best teams I had a team with Wesley Matthews, who you all know that played for the Bucks, and he's been very successful now. But me and his mom and some other parents, we got in a van and we just traveled and took those kids and needed to do what we had to do. For all those kids are pretty grown up and been successful now, whether they have families or they're working with kids or coaching. But yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board?
So yeah, I remembered my other question. Sorry. What did you know about other people in the apartment building when you started the fire?
We hadn't lived there long, so I didn't know none of the other neighbors, nobody in the building. Like I said,
You didn't know how many people were home or how many, if there were kids in the building or anything like that.
No. So I think this was God, because by me not knowing anybody in that building, that wasn't, the focus was, I had a problem, I had a drug problem, and I didn't know how to get rid of it.
Okay, thank you.
So I had an accident and I did what I needed to do, and my wife wasn't even there. She moved out. She just told me, she said, if you keep doing this, and me and my daughter were gone. So I wish I could answer more about that, but it was an extensive time ago.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. You are welcome to remain, or you can sign off. Our next
Thank you.
applicant this morning is Simmons. Ms. Simmons, are you present? I think I see you there. Are you able to unmute and turn your video on? Okay, good morning. I will turn it over to you.
My name is Delia Simmons. Almost 25 years ago, I got into an altercation with my son father. I was up getting dressed, ready for work, and we had an altercation, and I used the urn to get him off me instead of using something else. So that was my fault. I could have used anything else, and I still went to work, but they gave me probation, and I had to do Huber law because and anger management. I never been in trouble, and at that time I owned my duplex. I was working full time, not for sure if it was Frito-Lay or Uline, and I had full custody of my son then 25 years ago. And as of today, right now, I'm employed at MCTS. I was at Greyhound for 12 years, and I got my son Kevin Nunn hired there when he was 15. I would still be there, but we became an agency. So I had to leave, and I joined MCTS. And ever since I've been at MCTS, I moved from a cleaner tanker because I was a felon. At first, they had to see how I worked, and then I had to tell them who I had the situation with, and I let them know it was my son father that I got that felon for instead of a stranger. And I moved from a tanker to a bus operator, and I'm a clerk at MCTS, and I'm the next one to learn how to build the board there. And my son, Kevin Nunn, he been at the same station working with me for 4.5 years now. And I have a daughter, Asia, she'll be 21 this year, and she works for St. Luke in the heart department. I have a grandchild now, and trying to see what else. And over the past years, giving back to the community. I've been at Jeremiah Missionary Baptist Church. I was under Pastor Board, then Pastor Moore, then Pastor Cowan. But now I attend Community of Grace, Pastor Sinclair. And when we have, we give back books, we give food, we give clothes. And at that time, I be talking to the youth in the inner city, letting them know, keep your driver's license straight, keep your record straight. Like then I really didn't know what a felon was. I just knew I wasn't a problem person. And I was like, I'll take the felon long as I don't do no jail time. But like I let them know a felon on your record is bad. Just stay out of trouble and keep your license straight. And I had got married back in 2022, and I did anger management, and I own another property now. So I've been staying out of trouble, haven't been in trouble since. And to this day, me and my son, father, Kevin Darren Sr., we still speak as far as our son, which was just at our granddaughter's birthday party at the end of last month. And now I just been staying out of trouble. And I was trying to get this pardon because to work at the administration building, for MCTS, I cannot be a felon. I can keep moving up at our station, which I work at KK Station. Like now, I went from a cleaner tanker to a driver, and I'm an extra clerk, and now I'm going to be a board member. But for me to get a supervisor position or something, I can't have a felon on my record. So I know it's been almost 25 years. I stayed out of trouble. So I was asking if I can, get a pardon.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Ms. Simmons. I'll open it up to questions from the board.
Ms. Simmons, you were trained as a welder, right? How did that work?
I loved it. I just burnt myself a couple of times. I was welding then, because I did hard work, but it wasn't bad at all. I enjoyed it. I was a welder at U-Line on 60th and Brown Deer. But I always kept a good job, Frito-Lay and welding, and now I'm a transit operator with the clerk.
Good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Simmons. You are free to log off or remain.
Thank you.
Next we have Mr. Chang. Mr. Chang, are you present? I see you there, but we cannot hear or see you. Mr. Chang, we still cannot see or hear you. Okay, Mr. Chang, if you can, one of our staff members will give you a call now and help you in case you're having IT issues, and we will move on to the next applicant. We will circle back if you're able to resolve those issues. Next, we have Dawn Peters. Ms. Peters, are you present?
Yes.
Okay, now we can hear you. We cannot see you, but we can hear you. I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Can you see me now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was shot 9 times and I need a pardon because I need to protect myself and I need to go to gun classes. And the boys that shot me, they just threw the case out of court because the main witness moved out of state. And now these kids are out here and I don't know what they're going to do to me or my family. And I'm scared for my life. And they shot me 9 times and they shot my car 32 times. And the district attorney just dropped the case and let them walk.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Peters. Would you like to speak to your felony offense, how your sentence went, and what you've done since the completion of your sentence?
Okay, I worked in home health care for my whole life. And now I just retired because I broke my arm. And I haven't been working since. And I couldn't work when I got shot. So I've been off for 4 years now.
Okay, with that, I will open it up to questions from the board.
Okay.
Ms. Peters, as part of the application process, people are encouraged to submit letters of support for their pardon application, and you did not submit any letters of support. Can you tell us why not?
I didn't know I had to.
Well, it's part of the application process. It's not required, but it's strongly encouraged.
Okay. I can write.
Just wondering why you didn't submit any with your application.
I don't know. I didn't know I had to.
And my second question, you mentioned that you did some volunteer work as ordered back in 1983. Have you done any volunteer work or community service work since then?
No, I haven't.
Okay, thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the crime that you were convicted of? What was going on? You were at that time in your life, why'd you get involved in this criminal activity?
I don't know. I was young and dumb. And I sold marijuana.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Peters, the district attorney's office reviewed your pardon application, and the final decision will be the governor's. But the DA's office supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good in a way, but I'm still scared for my life because these kids walked scot-free with they didn't get no jail time or nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Peters, in your record, you have a misdemeanor battery from 1992 and a misdemeanor unlawful phone use from 1999. Can you tell us about those offenses? What were the details?
I got into an argument with a friend of mine.
Is that the battery?
Yes.
So what was the battery? Argument's not a battery.
She was beating up my daughter.
And
So
what did you do?
I got involved. I ripped her necklace off her neck and I told her to leave her alone.
Okay, and what was the unlawful phone use?
We were arguing over the phone.
The same person 7 years later?
No, this was a different person. We just got into an argument over the phone and we were both talking dumb, acting stupid.
Okay, thank you.
So I gotta ask, first of all, in your application, you hand filled it out and you checked yes on the box that said you were submitting letters of recommendation.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. And then secondly, I guess I need to ask, do you have any idea why these people, these guys were targeting you and trying to kill you?
Yes, because of my grandson. My grandson was a gang member and they were gang members. And they couldn't get my grandson because he was in Texas. So they were going to shoot me and kill me. And when he came back to Wisconsin for my funeral, they were going to shoot him at my funeral and kill him.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Peters? Okay, with that, thank you, Ms. Peters. You're welcome to sign off or remain. I'm going to circle back to Mr. Chang. I see you signed out and signed back in. We can move on to you if we're able to see and hear you.
All right, can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
so my name is Chang. I was arrested in 2007 March for several counts on the same case. 2 years later, I was charged and convicted for one count of endangerment, safety, reckless use of a firearm, party to a crime. How this all began. Late fall when I was 16. I grew up in a big family, 13 siblings, so it felt kind of stressful being home. Start hanging out with the wrong kids at school, and that turned out to be hanging out with a small crew, just random people, and then eventually joining a gang at a young age. I was a new recruit. I started realizing it got really serious after, I thought it was all nothing but smoking and drinking. But when we started getting into fights at, the communities, Hmong events that we had in Wisconsin, and didn't want to be a part of that anymore. But, it's kind of hard to just leave the gang without any consequences. So, long story short, I tried to leave the state, but you know, my parents couldn't afford it, so I did what I was told. When that day came, I was the driver in these events that occurred on the same date. I'm pretty sure I remember. I dropped these individuals at a corner, and I waited for them to do whatever they had to do at these residents. And after they came back, I just drove off, and eventually I was the only one who was arrested that week, and was charged with that. I did testify in court against these individuals. I cooperated with the detectives and DA on this case. You know, I'm not really proud of what I did. You know, I regret it from this day. I am sorry to the victims and my parents. They raised me way better than this, so I should have known better. I was sentenced 2 years of probation and 2 year stay. Interstate compact to Oklahoma. That's where my parents reside at. I did it with no issues. Probation with no issues. Paid my restitution. And after that, after I was sentenced, it was pretty hard finding a job. The only job that would have hired me at the time was McDonald's. So I worked at McDonald's for a few years. I know in my application I didn't put a lot of jobs because, you know, I job hopped and tried to find a good job to support my family. I did go to school, community college, but I never finished. I was told because of my conviction, I wanted to be an X-ray tech at the time, that the hospital wouldn't allow me in to be in that work field. So I just hopped a lot of jobs and went back to tech and got my machining certificate, and that didn't go so well. So I continued to find jobs, and now I'm with the job that I like now. I pick up for a laboratory here in Oklahoma. Been there for a year and a few months now. I know on my application, the last job was a pharmacy company. So with that being said, I also got my real estate license, which I have not looked into that field anymore. It wasn't meant for me. I am married for 14 years, and I have 3 wonderful boys. Just want to say, you know, that guy I was back then is not me today. And the reason why I would like a partner is, you know, I want to be more a part of my kid's life. And I just want to be there and attend school activities. Now that my kids are growing, 12, 10, and 7. My oldest is in 2 after school clubs. He competes statewide, and I do want to be there for him. And the other reason is I would like to start traveling one day, and just for any future career opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. I'll open it up for board questions.
Mr. Chang, you left several sections of the application blank in terms of community service and volunteer work and anything you've done to give back to your community. Have you done anything since this crime to give back to your community or in the terms of community service work?
So I have not. I came from a big family, so I used most of my time for my family, and now I have kids. I just spend most of my time with my kids as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chang, I know this maybe from a couple of previous jobs you had, but the Oklahoma State Board of Pharmacy issued you a license?
Yes, they did. That's just for a pharmacy tech, just to help out inside the pharmacy.
Did they have to review your felony conviction?
They did. I had to write a letter to state what I'd done in the past, and that's what I did, and they agreed to move forward with that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other board questions? Okay, well, thank you for your time, Mr. Chang.
Thank you.
Our next applicant this morning is Colby McReynolds. Mr.
Okay.
McReynolds, I see you're present. We cannot see you.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Sorry, it was saying the host had stopped it. Good morning. First of all, thank all of you for the opportunity here today. I have to pre-apologize. I struggled to get through these without getting a little emotional. On my brief summary of my offense, on July 26, 2008, I drove drunk and killed my best friend, Josh Mester, and injured another really close friend of mine, Parker Downey. And I'm responsible for the harm I've caused them and their families. And I was charged and convicted of homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle. And I was sentenced to 1 year in jail, 5 years probation, and 100 hours of community service. I completed all of that. I think I did, everything that was ever required of me through all of the legal stuff. That was, I want to say it was easy, but it paled in comparison to being responsible for the death of your best friend. I was a pallbearer in the funeral. It was really, things that I commonly think about are when I'm speaking at, public places and stuff. The most difficult part of all of it was probably being a part of the funeral and knowing full well that I was the reason that the community had been brought to their knees. Those families were tore apart, or torn up. I mean, not torn apart, but so that was all really, really difficult to get through as far as the sentencing and everything went. Like I said, I had 5 years of probation, 1 year of jail. I completed my probation in 2014. Through that, I did different speaking arrangements. Some of it was, I believe, I needed to do it through my probation, but a lot of it, I did multiple speaking arrangements just on my own. I was involved with like show livestock, and so I would go to different clinics. They'd invite me in to speak about my accident, and I have done many different programs at different high schools around the community. I've Mineral Point, Barneveld, a lot of different local communities. I'm really not positive how many total I've done. I haven't really kept track. I know I went up to Sparta to one. I've been out to Michigan at a show clinic. There's been certain instances where through some of the other things that I help out with coaching and trying to help mentor kids through 4-H and different programs that are ran through the DNR as far as mentor hunting programs and stuff. There's been instances where I've been involved with kids, and maybe, kids that are 17 to 20-year-old. If I hear of them, maybe not making the best decisions, I've went out of my way to either reach out to them or pull them aside and tell my story. And I just try to make the best of it that I can. So, I mean, I've kind of touched on a few different things and I'm bouncing all over. I apologize. I'm nervous. That'd be kind of, along the lines of what I've done since the sentencing. I've spoke at a lot of different high schools. The latest one was through the Mineral Point High School. They had a mock accident program this spring, and I was brought in as a guest speaker. And I help out with the youth wrestling program. I have for many years. I've helped mentor a lot of kids with their livestock projects in 4-H and FFA. I have, as far as like employment goes, at the time of the accident, I worked at Northland Explosives out of Mineral Point, and I was able to continue working there for a short period afterwards. But then the ATF had to do an investigation because of the felony, and I was no longer able to work there. There was a process, an investigation process, and everything went really well. But for a while afterwards, it was in the final stages of approval, and that went on for a little while, and I ended up having to get a different job, and I started working at J&R Underground, where I was on different drill crews, and then ultimately went into the fiber optic splicing division through them. And then in 2019, we had an opportunity to start up our own fiber optic splicing company. Myself and a business partner of mine own that together. And with the two of us, we have 7 total employees, including myself and my partner. I also, my family owns a small business where we sell outdoor products. So I'm involved with that. There's 3 reasons, I guess, that I'd be seeking a pardon. It's not to ever forget or put aside the crime I committed. I want to continue to use that in the future. I hope it's something that I can use and prevent someone else from making the same mistake I made, including my kids and anybody I come in contact with. And that's the reasons I'd be looking for a pardon, I think they all circle back to trying to be the best version of a husband and a father that I can be. I mentioned the small business that my family owns. So we manufacture and make outdoor products, and a big part of that, there's a lot of business that we can do in Canada, and it'll allow me to possibly go do trade shows and help build that business out of the country. Secondly, I think I briefly mentioned I've been a mentor through different DNR programs, learn to hunt programs. It's filled with youth. Actually, it's kind of around first-time hunters. So there's been people in their 80s there that we've helped out. Just learning about specifically turkey hunting with that mentored program. I was involved with all aspects, non-firearm related, just different things through that. But I would really like to be able to foster my own children and continue to help mentor the way I was kind of brought up and some of the core values, we have. And then lastly, where I worked was Northland Explosives. And that would probably be where I still worked today had I not made that horrible mistake and had to go a different route and path. And although we have a successful little business going right now, you can never predict the future. And if something were to happen where I didn't have the employment I currently have, I would really like the opportunity to go back to blasting. With a felony, I can't haul explosives or anything. We did a lot of quarry work and road job work and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that job, and it would mean a lot to me to be able to go back to that profession. I feel
Mr.
like
McReynolds, I apologize. I just want to make sure we have time for board questions.
Yep, I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. With that, I'll open it up.
Morning, Mr. McReynolds.
Good morning.
I know that you completed aorta treatment as part of the sentence, I believe. What is your relationship with alcohol today? Do you use?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What did you,
Go
so
ahead.
what my, is the question what my relationship with alcohol is today?
It is.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't really have a relationship with alcohol. I mean, I might have at home if myself and my wife are grilling out, I might have a beer at home or something. But I don't on the same token, I've never blamed alcohol. It was me making a horrible decision. But I don't really have a relationship with alcohol at all, as far as I really don't drink. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't drink, but I very, responsible, and I don't drink much at all.
Okay. I think it was your grandfather wrote a letter. You had a lot of letters of support, obviously. But he wrote, I think it was your grandfather's letter. He wrote that your business has you staying out at least 3 nights a week. What does that mean?
So a lot of our work is in Iowa, Illinois, and like Minnesota, and roughly, let's say 2.5 to 3 hours away. So my work schedule, I'm on the road Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, and then we work most of the day on Thursday, and we're home Thursday evening. So he just means that I work on the road 3 nights a week, basically.
Away from home.
Yes, away from home.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. McReynolds, the final decision, of course, is the governor's, but both the judge and the district attorney in Iowa County support your application for pardon. How does that make you feel?
I really appreciate the support that they've given me. I've had a couple phone conversations with DA Lee, and yeah, I really, really appreciate the support that they've given me. And I've offered anytime they would need any assistance from me, as far as speaking or anything like that, if they ever felt like I would be utilized, that they could use me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Mr. McReynolds? Okay, thank you for your time. You're welcome to remain or to log off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Our next applicant is Edgar Gonzalez.
Good morning. I don't know why the video is, oh, start my video. I'm sorry. Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning. My name is Edgar Gonzalez. If you know Wausau, Wisconsin. A little bit about my background. I was born in New York, raised in Colombia, South America, returned to New York in 1983, graduated from high school, joined the United States Air Force and served quite a while. I served also in the Air National Guard all the way through 2001, traveling around the world, upgrading hospitals and schools. I came to live in Wisconsin in 1998, and I started my electrical business. Then after that, I guess is when things went a little south for me. In the summer of 2001, I was convicted and put on probation for possession and manufacture of THC and some accompanying misdemeanor cases. I was unfortunately revoked because I committed another crime, which is case 02 CF 240. That was in September of 2002. I had sexual contact with a person over the age of 16, under the age of 18. It was a misdemeanor. With that, I don't want to minimize the seriousness of the offense. And I was sent to prison for 2 years. I was released, and then on in 2006, I was revoked from my extended supervision on a probation visit, and I got a case related to possession of an electrical weapon, THC, drug paraphernalia, and I served the rest of my term of extended supervision in prison. I've been off of all my cases, all supervision, everything since February 28th of 2013. I would like to, first of all, express the great remorse that I have, in particular for the misdemeanor case with the sexual contact with a young lady. I think that, to me, despite the fact that all the others are felonies and this one is the misdemeanor, was the most serious. I agree with what the law says, and I understand that I can't say it was a mistake, because the mistake, you do it involuntarily, not knowing what results will produce. This was a really bad choice on my side, and let a lot of people down. I so deeply regret it. I wish I could talk sometime to the victim on this. I don't know where she's at. I've never had contact with her from the time that things happened. I did see her parents one time in Lake Tomahawk, but I didn't recognize who I was, and I guess I didn't want to open that at that time. I regret it so deeply because I was at the time raising my children, and I left them alone with my mom and the rest of the family when I had to leave. I also hurt the community because I was part of the school and the family, of course. Well, since then, though, since I came out, as soon as I came, while I was in prison, I was the institution law clerk. Matter of fact, I also won a case with the Court of Appeals on a credit issue, sentence credit issue. As when I got out, I went to school to the University of Phoenix, and I got my bachelor's degree on criminal justice administration. I continued with my interpreting business, English, Spanish. I work a lot with the courts and with medical. Initially, I was doing my electrical business. That's the trade I learned in the military, and always held a job. Different things that I've done since then. I was part of the Speaker of Office's task force on law enforcement and racial disparities. I created a nonprofit organization that advocates for the Hispanic community in North Central Wisconsin. Last year, I was able to advance 4 DACA bills on a bipartisan form. Unfortunately, we were short a vote, which didn't happen. Governor Evers also recognized me back in March of 2019 for my work on driver's licenses for undocumented people. I'm also part of the 7th Congressional District Service Academy interview panel. I interview the candidates that go to the academies. I'm also was a part of One WASA that got created after a tragedy that we had in town, and opened up the avenues of talk about diversity and culture. Also, I was part of WASA Mentor Strong after another incident that happened here, and that was a group that was with businesses and law enforcement in our area. When COVID started, I helped create an organization called H2N, the Hispanic and Hmong Communications Network, which brought information and help for underserved communities for COVID. I'm an interpreter for North Central Health. I've done plenty of interpreting for Marathon County Police and Sheriff's Department. I was the director for Comunidad Hispana between 2014 and 2016. As part of education, recently I got my certification as a community health worker and for QPR, question, persuade, and refer. And I am currently working on a DOJ certification so I can help people process their immigration papers and situations, different situations. I would like
Mr. Gonzalez, I apologize for having to cut in, but if you could briefly address why you believe you deserve a pardon before I open it up to the board members.
Yes. I would like to explore the option of getting a law degree. I'd like to take the felon title off my name. for most of us humans, a felony really is a limit to the things that we can do. I want to reach higher goals, and just to be short, I would like to honor my mother and my father, who were very good people. My mother just passed this Tuesday. She didn't get to see me get to this board right here. And I believe that I have worked very hard. I want to be an example. I want to go and talk to people about this experience and how we can overcome and get people back after they have served a term in prison, that there are opportunities and there's a way to get through.
Thank you, and our condolences about the passing of your mother.
Thank you.
With that, I'll open it up to board questions.
Mr. Gonzalez, the judges who reviewed your application for a pardon, the final decision, of course, is the governor's, but the judges who reviewed your application support your application. How does that make you feel?
Mr. Hancock, that is just an amazing thing. I still talk to Judge Kinney. He's a wonderful person. Matter of fact, even going back to sentencing, he had some words that were very encouraging to me. He said it was very sad that a person like me had to be convicted, a person that could be a much better example to his community, and I have proven him right. So that part, of all the letters that I got, that one really touches my heart, because I feel redeemed when somebody like him has said that I deserve a pardon.
Good.
So
Thank you.
It's very, very touching, yes.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. And thanks for this opportunity, and I hope to continue to serve.
Of course, thank you. Next up, we have Cody Westfall.
Hello.
Good morning. I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you all for being here, and I appreciate your time. Well, I started smoking weed when I was about 14 years old. That was enough in the beginning, but eventually I turned to selling it to kind of support that habit. April of 2010, I was caught selling weed to an undercover officer 3 separate times on 3 separate occasions. The total amount of marijuana was a pound. As an 18-year-old kid, I thought I was smarter than everybody else. You know, I was an honor roll student. That reality was definitely broken when I was taken out of my parents' car in a main city street in a town I'd lived my whole life in. I was in a state of shock at first, but as my case kind of was going through the courts, I kind of started realizing, you know, what I had actually done to my life and the danger I put myself in. And as my case was going through court, I kind of started struggling with like drugs and alcohol, kind of to cope with throwing away a scholarship, disappointing my family, and realizing I wasn't that smart kid that could get away with anything. And it was actually the night before my sentencing that my employer called the cops on me. I was drinking at work, obviously underage. And that's where that felony bail jumping charge came from. They rescheduled my hearing for the next month, and they gave me 1 year condition time for the 3 manufacturers and delivering charges, and then 120 days to be served on top of that for the bail jumping. The employer who called the cops on me actually let me come back to work. That was kind of surprising considering that they called the cops on me, but I guess they realized I was a decent worker. So I did my jail time. I had many ups and downs through the years after that. I think the biggest takeaway is I realized I was an addict. Any drugs or alcohol, anything I could really get my hands on. I did go to a few treatment programs, AA meetings. Nothing really seemed to stick. until my parents actually kicked me out of their house. I was kind of forced with a choice. I needed to find somewhere to live. I also knew I needed to get out of Ozaukee County, where I lived my whole life. So I found a 6-month halfway house program down in Milwaukee. I got approval from my probation officer to move down there. This is where my life really started to change. I was with a lot of heroin addicts, crack addicts, guys that, I mean, while I was staying at that house, I believe 2 people passed away. One of them just left. One of them completed the program and then passed away afterwards, shortly afterwards. I guess that really brought to my attention how serious drug addiction and the world I was getting into was. Within a week of being there, they didn't force us. You had to get 30 job applications a day until you had a job when you went to this halfway house. I had a job within a week. I still work for that property management company. I manage a 54-unit apartment complex out in Grafton. I did their painting and maintenance for quite a while, but then when my daughter was born in 2015, I realized I needed to get, a better job. So I went to a job fair for electricians, and I got hired on with Pier Power as a construction wireman, and I eventually got my apprenticeship program, which is a 5-year program. I did that. I just got my journeyman's license last year, November. I'm currently working on my master's program. So since then, I guess jail definitely made me realize, the seriousness of my offenses and, what my life would be like if I continued down that path. While I was there, I completed the life skills program. I started attending AA and NA meetings. I realized that the only way I was going to stay sober was being of service to others to get me out of my own misery, basically, and kind of help people who were down. I still attend AA meetings, not as much as I used to. I have spoken at a few AA and NA meetings. I volunteer at my church. I've helped with painting and electrical and landscaping there. Recently, I just started helping with it's a dog rescue where they bring up dogs from down south and you just foster them until you can find somebody to adopt them. I have been 100% sober since my daughter's birth in 2015. I realized I can't drink, I can't smoke, I can't associate with people that want to use drugs. And I think it's one of the best things I've ever done for myself. I feel more present for my daughter and just able to do my job better. I believe I should receive a pardon because I'm not the irresponsible child that committed these offenses. Looking back, it makes me sick to think about what I put myself into, the people I put myself around. I just, as an adult with a child, I can't even imagine what my parents were thinking. Like, why did you do this? There are certain job sites my employer won't send me to. I'm a commercial industrial electrician. So like we do a lot of like foundries, we do government facilities, hospitals, the airport. And some of those places they won't let me go to because of my felony conviction. I also own my own remodeling business. So I would like to not have that ever hinder me from getting customers in the future. And lastly, I would like to be able to chaperone field trips for my daughter. I don't really want to have to ever run into any issues of not being able to be there for her. If she decides she wants to be in a sport with coaching, I would like to be able to do that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Westfall. I'll open it up for questions from the board. Okay, it looks like there are no questions. Thank you for your time, Mr. Westfall.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Gabriel McKinney.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see and hear you. You can take it from here.
Good morning. My name is Gabriel McKinney. I'm 54 years old. I am a married man of 22 years. I have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, which I love so much. And to begin with, I started as a rocky past as a young adult, a young boy. I wouldn't consider myself an adult at that point in time. I was easily influenced by other people that was around me, considering I grew up in a housing project. And for some odd reason, I decided that I want to be like everyone else that was around me and sell drugs because of the things that they had. And I kind of wanted those things also. So I was kind of easily influenced by those people that was around me. And so in 1991, I was convicted of possession of marijuana and cocaine with intent to sell, and was committed to the house correction for 1 year house correction time, and Huber with that also. I had an extremely rocky past as a young boy, and which I tried to straighten my life out. I actually did straighten my life out. I did a 360 turn by me having my first child, and I felt as though I had wanted better for my children. I didn't want to continue going down that same path. And so I purchased a couple of homes and I worked for Lakeside Manufacturing for 14 years. I am a supervisor at my job currently. And I just try to stay on the right path, stay with my grandchildren, which takes up most of my time. I volunteer at the church a lot when they have food drives, and volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club when they need chaperones for doing different things. I help chaperone, and my son's a basketball coach now, so I also help him chaperone the kids to get them back and forth to the basketball games. If the kids need a ride or something like that, I will volunteer my time to make sure that they get to all the games on time, and take a lot of the guys on fishing trips with me, to try to show them a better way of life, do something better than just hang around uninfluential people, just try to show them a better way.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Excuse me?
Oh, I thought you were finished. Go ahead and just briefly finish your remarks, and then I'll open it up to questions from the board.
I also had a receiving stolen property back in '92, which for some odd reason I decided I wanted a stereo, and I didn't have the money to purchase a stereo. And here I am with these same type of guys who go out stealing stereos, and decided I was going to purchase a stereo, and which got me in trouble because I purchased a stereo and I wasn't the one that stole it. But at the same time, that crime is just as bad as stealing it. Now I know that, so I pretty much just tried to change my life around for the better, because I wanted better for my children and my grandchildren. And I didn't want them to go down the same path that I went down.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. McKinney. I'll open it up to board questions.
Mr. McKinney, in your application, you talk about how learning to become a welder changed your life. Can you how did you learn to become a welder?
Well, sir, I actually started at a job as a temporary worker, and I was a press operator. And the position came open for a welder, and I didn't know anything about welding. So instead of me taking lunch every day, I would go sit in a weld booth and just practice welding. And then eventually my job seen that I was interested in learning welding. So eventually they sent me to school. They paid for it. So I would go to school 4 hours a day and I would go to work the other 4 hours a day and just learn welding. So that became my career, and I've been welding for 25 plus years now.
Thank you.
Are there any other board questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. McKinney.
Thank you. Thank you, board. Thank you for giving me the time to hear my story. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Our final applicant in this first group is Adam Dinasha.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see and hear you, so you can take it from here.
Hey, my name is Adam Dinesha. Uh, uh, I am looking for a pardon for in 2008, I had a robbery by use of force charge. There were three victims, and also my 2009 possession THC. For my 2008 robbery charge, it was actually from I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was woken up and asked to go with a friend to go get his beer. I didn't know the whole situation. Like, I was probably still drunk. My 2000 after I got a deal, I pled out. I got the deal where uh I had a state sentence, and I learned that I had a baby on the way in 2000 late, late yeah 2009 September 2009. Found out I had a baby on the way, and excuse me, I couldn't get a job, so I ended up selling weed. Kind of panicked. Ended up getting revoked. I did. I got revoked for the robbery charge. I ended up saving total 3 years. The possession THC with intent to deliver was ran concurrent. My incarceration time was very mind opening, or like I used that time to realize a lot. It was beneficial for me in a way because it made me more appreciative of life and gave me a better perspective on things instead of being sad about the things that I didn't have. I was grateful for the stuff that I did have because I couldn't complain about the time that I had to sit at all because someone is always going to have it worse. So it made me appreciate more of what I had. Thankful that I didn't get anything worse. Thankful I didn't do anything worse. I took a lot of time to reflect about the victims. I went through different stages in the reflection process, and a lot of those stages, and it led to a place where I felt a lot of remorse and shame, especially after I started learning more about mental health and trauma. Seeing how some trauma impacts myself, and then seeing that I could be someone's cause of that trauma, it was a very heartbreaking moment for me. But in 2012, January 2012, I did get released, and I realized through my incarceration that I needed to get out of Black River Falls. I cannot go back there. That was my release plan. I ended up finding a friend in lacrosse. I moved in with him. His girlfriend, I didn't really know. We're good friends now, but kind of laugh at it when we look back. But she ended up kicking me out because I'm a felon. I just got released out of prison. Why am I in her house? So I was fortunate enough to have a brother living in La Crosse. I moved in with him, and been here ever since. Uh, I got a. I started working at Applebee's. I started working in restaurants. And in November, I did get a OWI. I just hit a point where I've been working for months and I haven't been getting anywhere. I just felt stuck. Um, so I ended up going out drinking. Flat out, I took the fine license suspension. Then in May of 2013, I moved into my own apartment. I moved my daughter in, and after I realized that, like, I haven't had any negative police contact since. My girlfriend, my daughter's mother, she works night shift. I work during the day. And we staggered that way just to save on childcare expenses. I did get a probation violation in November 2013, but I got from my daughter's mom was on probation, and I got permission from my first PO to have contact with her because there's a standard rule where you can't be in contact with anybody on probation or paper. Then before I moved them in, I got permission for her to live with me. I moved her and both daughters, my daughter and her other daughter. I've been raising them all the kids ever since. But it never got updated in the system. They did some restructuring, so I had to change POs, and my PO that they assigned me retired, the one that gave me the permission. Then I got 2 temporary ones, and then I got my permanent one in with 3 months to go on paper. 4 months. October, September. And then November, that's when I found out that it was never in the system. As far as community involvement, I didn't have a lot of time for like volunteer work. With her working third shift and me working like first shift, between the kids, school, and sleep work, it wasn't a whole lot of time, especially when they were younger. I did go to I applied for Western Technical College in 2019, and they told me that the paralegal program wasn't recommended because of my criminal history, and they recommended the manufacturing degree. I didn't want to do that, but my better suited for working with people. And so I waited, and then I got accepted into the paralegal program. I graduated. I graduated with high honors, and I made the president's list every semester. I do have pending civil cases. My goal, reason why I'd like to get a pardon. My goal is I want to become. I had plans for law school, but our elder just recently reached out to the tribe and asked me to run for tribal governing board. I have some pending cases where I'm trying to limit powers of the tribal governing board, the chairman, because it's a lot of details. But I took it upon myself to start learning a lot about civil law, and I know a little bit, but there's still so much more I don't know. And I'd also like to become a notary, and I'd also like to go hunting. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dinasha. With that, I'll open it up to board questions. I'll start with a question. Mr. Dinasha, what is your current relationship to alcohol and drugs?
I have no. I drink. I have a drink 1 time, 2 times a year, and they're at my fantasy football leagues. I go out with friends, I'll have one drink because I gotta drive home, and that's it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time, Mr. Dinasha.
All right, thank you.
With that, we've concluded our first group of applicants. We will take a short break now and resume with our next group promptly at 10 o'clock. Thank you. Okay. Let's get started with the second morning session of the Pardon Advisory Board this morning. I think we have all of our board members back. Reverend McIver, are you present as well?
Yes, I'm still.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Apologies for that. Okay. So welcome back, everyone. As I mentioned, this is the second session of our morning applicants for the Pardon Advisory Board. My name is Leslie Freehill. I'm the Deputy Legal Counsel for Governor Evers. I have 4 Pardon Advisory Board members joining me at present. First, we have Reverend Jerry Hancock, who's the Director of the Prison Ministry Project and previously served as a public defender, Deputy District Attorney, and an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. Also joining us, we have Judge Jeffrey Kremers, Attorney General Josh Call's nominee to this board, who served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, serving as chief judge for 7 of those years. He retired in 2018. We have Reverend John McVicker Sr., is the founding member of pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He additionally serves as board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. And we have Cindy O'Donnell, who served as deputy secretary of the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. We also have an additional board member who will be joining us at 11 o'clock. It will be Anthony Cooper Sr. He's the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Reentry Services for Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. He received a pardon from Governor Evers in January of 2021. Mr. Cooper will not be voting or participating in any applications for which he hasn't yet joined, but once he joins at 11, then he will be a voting member. I will run through our housekeeping items again. As a reminder, this hearing is being live streamed on WISI and YouTube. Please mute yourselves and keep your video off until it's your turn to help ensure the quality. If you run into IT issues, please don't worry. Someone from our staff will give you a call and the board will return to your hearing once we've resolved the issue. This happens nearly every session, so please don't worry. We will reach out to you if there's an IT issue. I will be calling applicants in the order that they are listed on the open meetings notice. When I call you, you will have 3 to 5 minutes to share your story and answer the questions we sent in advance, which are a brief summary of your offenses and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement and employment, and a brief statement about why you think you should receive a pardon. Note that if you are running long in your presentation, I will interrupt because I want to make sure that the board members have time for their questions. The board members may or may not ask you questions about your application. Please don't read into that and be assured that the board has reviewed your full application materials. Once we're done with board questions, you're welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. Once everyone is heard, the board will meet in closed session to decide whether to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of the board members present. The governor will either accept or reject that application, or either way, you will be notified in about a month or two from today. With that, I think we are ready for our first applicant. We have Craig Champion. Mr. Champion, I see it looks like you're present, but we cannot see or hear you. Okay, Mr. Champion, we still cannot see or hear you, so I'm going to move to the next applicant, but someone from our staff will give you a call. Next up, we have Randy Taylor. Mr. Taylor, are you there?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, we cannot see you.
Okay, I'm trying to start the video. There we go. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Hello there. Good morning, everybody. Do you want to hear my story? Is that what's first of what happened?
Yes. So if you could briefly address the 3 questions: a summary of your offenses, a summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, and then why you think you should receive a pardon.
Okay.
Leslie, I need to recuse myself on this case. It's very old, but it's possible I was in the DA's office when Mr. Taylor's case came up, so I need to recuse myself.
Okay. So I was with some friends one night and we were out driving around and decided to steal a CB out of this pickup truck. And I believe we did procure it, or I did, I don't remember. It's been 48 years ago now. And the keys were in the vehicle and my friends wanted to take the vehicle. And I said, I want nothing to do with that because I don't want to get in trouble for stealing a vehicle. I did not know that just because I was with them, I was party to this. So that's where it all began. And I know my friend decided to take the gentleman's credit card and use it the next day. So he got arrested for that. And then his brother took the vehicle back the next day to the person's house and parked it out in front of there. So it was never an issue, I guess. And I was on probation, I believe, for 2 years back then. So it was, like I said, it was quite a while ago. And but since then, I worked for the university for 37 years. And the last 16 years, I was an IT security specialist. I retired in 2016. My friend said, "Why don't you come drive a school bus with me?" I thought, "Are you crazy?" And here I am, still driving the school bus. So it's, pretty good fun. I'm also the church council president at Bristol Lutheran Church, and I'm the cemetery committee treasurer of Bristol Lutheran Church. I did help out with the Sun Prairie Food Pantry. I volunteered there before the pandemic, but after the pandemic, they really haven't called anybody back except for just a small handful of people. So I really haven't been back helping there at all. My wife and I adopted our daughter in 1993, and she has since done really well in college. She's a wildlife biologist with her bachelor's, master's, and currently working on her PhD right now. So I think I've done pretty well with my daughter too. So I don't know what else to tell you. I guess the reason I really want to get the pardon off is so I can travel. My daughter and I would like to go to Canada, and I've heard that you can't travel in other countries if you have a felony. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'd like to get rid of the felony.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for your time, Mr. Taylor.
You're very welcome. Thank you for hearing me.
Of course. We are going to circle back to Craig Champion. I saw that, let's see. Mr. Champion, are you present? Okay, I saw him briefly, but he is not present now. So we'll move on to our next applicant, Angela Thomas.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're going to start off with the summary of what the crime. So my name is Angela Thompson. And back in July of 2003, I was charged with forgery uttering party to a crime. I was sentenced to 6 months at the House of Correction and 3 years probation. And I was getting out for child release for my oldest son at the time. Since the incident, I haven't been in any trouble, which has been over 20 years. I've been married for 18 years. I have 2 children, a 21-year-old, which just graduated from college as a medical assistant in May. I have an 18-year-old son who is just graduated from high school in June, going to college in September. And I've worked for W-2 for 6 years after the nature of the crime. And now I've been with Aurora Healthcare for 12 years. And what I've done in the community, I feed the homeless every holiday. I volunteer for the Salvation Army every year. I work food pantries for my church. I do catering on the side for my cousin's group home. And the reason why I would like this pardon is it's been over 20 years. I've matured since then. And I'm ready to expand my goals in life to become a real estate agent and also sell life insurance. I feel like it'll bring more homeowners to the community. I feel like also with the life insurance to let families know that they don't have to do like a GoFundMe page, that they have that option to get insurance to bury their loved ones. And to also, the most important part, to let my boys know that, you know, with hard work and dedication, this is what mom did with this pardon.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Thompson. Questions from the board?
Ms. Thompson, as part of the application process, it's not required, but applicants are encouraged to submit letters of support for their application, and you did not submit any letters of support. Can you tell us why not?
I wasn't aware. I did this pardon a year and a half ago, and I have been reaching out, and apparently there was an error in your office that when I kept reaching out with status on the application, I did speak to someone about a year ago, and she stated that everything was good to go and I would just need to wait for an email. I have been following up every month since last year, and then I found out the other day that you guys had a L behind my name instead of a 1. So I don't know in regards to any letter that was supposed to be submitted with the actual pardon application.
Well, it's part of the application. It's no error anybody made. It's part of the application that you completed and you signed and you checked all the boxes about it. And the application includes an encouragement for applicants to submit letters of support.
Oh, no, I was not aware of that.
Well, it's part of the application that you submitted and signed. So
I remember it was over a year ago. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Ms. Thompson. Ms. Thompson, you were ordered to pay $21,588 in restitution.
Correct.
Did you pay that?
Yes, I paid it in full.
And how did you pay it?
Working. I would just pay every paycheck that I had. I would just pay towards. I think even a couple times around then, maybe some taxes had got intercepted at some point. But yes, that was about 20 years ago. But yeah, that's how it was paid off.
So I see your probation was extended in 2006. Why was that?
I think it was to allow more time to get the money paid is why the extension was granted.
I see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have 2 questions, Ms. Thompson. Is your current husband, was he your co-defendant in this crime?
Yes.
And the final decision, of course, is the governor's, but the judge in Milwaukee County who reviewed your application for pardon supports your application. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel good because I feel like it's been over 20 years. And, you know, people need to have a second chance from something 20 years ago when I was 20 and I'll be 43 this year. Like, you make mistakes and it's all about learning from them, moving forward, and just getting this opportunity to be able to make a difference, not only for myself, but also for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Thompson.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. I will just note for all present that our additional pardon board member, Anthony Cooper, has joined. With that, we will move to hopefully Craig Champion. Mr. Champion, it looks like you are present.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. And is your video not working?
I do not think it is. I'm going to go back to. Is that better? I think.
We are not able to see you at all. There's just a phone icon.
He's there.
He's there.
Where?
Under the Samsung.
Oh, I see. Okay, I have 2 Craig Champions. Okay. I can see and hear you then. Thank you. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Champion.
Thank you. I guess the reason for my pardon is I was arrested for delivery of THC. I guess I I had 1 ounce that I had no money changed hands, but delivered it. They came back to my house. The guy who I delivered it to was wearing a wire, and I was arrested. I actually did my jail sentence. I did my probation. I paid my fines. I did some community service. This was over 25 years ago. I am self-employed. I am recently retired about a year ago, and that didn't last very long. I'm back trying to find a job, and each application I've been filling out always wants to ask me for the felon and for the ounce of marijuana that I had sold is still affecting me job-wise, mental-wise. I'm at the point now where my grandkids are old enough to do some hunting. And of course, my gun rights have been taken away because of this. And I would like to get back in the field with them and show them the ins and outs of the nature, the woods, the hunting. I guess I've been clean. I don't drink. And here I am, looking for a pardon to wash all this away. I am recently with a gal in the last 2 years that has cancer, and we want to do some traveling before she passes away. And I think this felony has been a burden on me for quite a while. At this point, I don't know what else to say. Here I am. I don't know what to say anymore.
Okay, well, that is plenty, and I will open it up then for questions from the board.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Champion.
Good morning.
So I noted in reviewing your application that you gave a pretty good description of the crime that you were convicted of back in 1994, which is, 30 years ago, and you were able to recall what happened and describe it. But when you asked or were asked in the application about multiple domestic violence convictions you've had, you said in every single one, you said, well, that was a long time ago. I don't remember the details. So I'm kind of struck by that disparity because those are much more recent in time, as recent as I think 2015. Can you shed some light on all these domestic violence convictions and restraining orders you've had placed against you? What's going on?
I was married and I went through one heck of a tough divorce. It seemed like every time I turned around during this divorce, I had the authorities called on me. Even if anything I did remotely wrong in her point, the police were called on me. I got out of that situation by a divorce, and I have not been or seen that girl in probably 15 years now. That was my main deal with my batteries with my ex-wife.
You had one in 2015. Was that with your ex-wife as well in Chip County?
Correct, sir.
Well, that's 9 years ago.
Has it been 9 years since I've been divorced? My dates, I don't have them on any spreadsheet as far as my dates and where we sit years. It could have been 9 years ago. I not 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mr. Champion,
Yes, sir.
it was 9 years ago. The restraining order was in effect for 4 years. So that takes us to 2019. And was there a gun in the house when you got these restraining orders?
Absolutely not.
Well, then why was there a firearms restriction in the restraining order? Because since 1994, you've not been allowed to possess a firearm, but in
Correct.
2 of the restraining orders, there's a firearms restriction. So was there a gun somewhere involved in this?
No, there was not. I think, in my opinion, that was just part of their, what do I want to say? Part of my restraining order is not to have a gun. But no, I was already a felon at this time. If there was a gun in my possession, I sure would have been arrested. I don't know. I did not see where it said no guns in my arrest conviction, except for when I originally had my felony over the THC charge.
When did you get married?
Oh man, my dates. I would say it's pretty tough on me on these dates. I don't have none of this in front of me. 16 years ago, 17 years ago.
Okay, but your first domestic abuse was in 2000. What's that all about? If you weren't even married then.
Maybe it was longer than that. I was married with my domestic abuse. I don't know. I knew I should have been more prepared. I don't know when I got married. I tell you the truth, I don't know the date I got married or any of that stuff. I don't know my dates.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
I'm up in the air on this. I don't know.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, with that, thank you, Mr. Champion. We will move to our next applicant.
All right. Thank you very much.
Our next applicant is Sharonda Shackleford. I do not see.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can
Okay,
hear you, but not see you.
It say you cannot start your video because the host has disabled it. Okay, there we go. Hello. My name is Sharonda Shackleford. I was convicted of a felony in 2011 for theft in a business setting. At the time of my offense, I was working at Walmart as a cashier in the money center. At the time, I was in an abusive relationship with a guy who wanted me to steal money from my job. And because I've experienced physical abuse from him in the past, I did what he said. I took money from the register knowing that it was wrong and knowing that I will sooner or later get caught. Once I did get caught, I knew that would be my opportunity to get away from him. So when I got caught, I got arrested, I had pled guilty. I received 18 months probation, 24 hours community service, and I was told to get my GED as well as stay employed, and I did both. I cooperated with my parole officer the entire time and had no police contact ever since. I have been employed since the completion. I have been employed since the completion of my sentence. I worked as a caregiver, child care teacher. I was a program supervisor. I was a school bus driver. I worked for Milwaukee County Bus Transit for 4 years. Now I currently drive for MCFI transporting disabled children. Even though I like the work I do and done, I'm asking for a pardon because it will open more doors for me. Because with this felon, let alone without a pardon, I feel like my life is at a standstill when it comes to jobs. So that's why I'm asking for a pardon. Also, I stayed out of trouble. I have 5 kids, an 18-year-old, 3 6-year-olds, which is triplets, and a 3-year-old girl. I'm on the right path, and I have become a positive member of the community, and I believe I'm a great person. So that's why I'm asking for a pardon.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shackleford. I'll start with the questions. I see you were ordered to pay $6,104 in restitution. Did you pay that in full?
No, I paid it over time, so they took it out of my taxes as well as payments out of my check.
And is that ongoing, or has that been completed?
No, it's completed.
Okay, so as of today, it's been paid in full.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Other questions from the board?
Ms. Shackleford, of course, the final decision is up to the governor, but the judge in Milwaukee County who reviewed your application supports your getting a pardon. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel exciting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. It looks like there are no further questions, so thank you for your time, Ms. Shackleford.
Thank you all.
Our next applicant is Anthony Waldrup Jr.
Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Perfect. Good morning. Hope everyone's well. See how this goes. So I'll just start a little nervous, but so in 1999 and prior to 1999, I was just a train wreck myself. But that started the changing process, life-changing process to date. So I know I have a couple. One is operating without owner's consent. I took a vehicle, just needed a ride, did bring the vehicle back. It was actually my girlfriend's father's truck. So that's where that came in about. Delivery of articles to inmate, that happened while I was incarcerated in 99. It was actually, there was a trustee that worked on the floor in Appleton. They had the prison on one floor and the county on the other. And my girlfriend visited one of the county people or the state inmates, dropped cigarettes. So it was no drugs, cigarettes in the garbage, and we got caught smoking in jail. And then there was the burglary charge. Really, again, I pretty much raised myself up until this point, still have, I should say. When I was younger, my parents weren't really around. So I got into with some bad people, and kind of was a yes man. And, oh yeah, I'll go, and did dumb stuff. A lot of this stuff, like I said, was all my younger years. So for the most part, I mean, I have somewhat of a lengthy record. Nothing up to date. It's been quite a few years, decades. So since then, while I was in prison, went to prison for 3.5 years, was released early from McNaughton, which I was on parole until I believe it was 2007. And when I was released in September of 2002, in a month and a half, I had a job at a paper converting company. I was determined to turn my life around. Started there as a helper. They gave me a chance. In 3 years, I became the maintenance supervisor. From there, I moved to a different job, capital equipment, which I was a forklift technician, road guy, shop guy, tech guy. I was kind of jack of all trades. And then the economy went bad, and that was like 08, 09 when it was bad, and they had to release me due to seniority. I went back they hired me back at US Paper Converters as the maintenance supervisor again. I stayed there another year and a half-ish. At that time, I started working at it was formerly Courtney Industrial Battery. Now it's Concentric. We're a global company. We're owned by Mitsubishi Heavy Industrial. I've been there 13 years now. I started as a tech. I was a tech, customer service, and sales all at one point. Now I just do sales. As far as community, I was helped assisting coaching with the Blizzards, because my kids were on the teams as well, and they're on a variety of teams now because there's 7 of them. Also with All Wisconsin, and trying to mentor those kids and help them make better decisions in life. Love working with kids. It's awesome. So yeah, I got seven kids. One of them I'm working on adopting because it's obviously not mine, but I have 6 biological and one child that I'm dad to her. She calls me dad and love it. And ages range from 20 to 8. Two of them are in college. The middle one my third oldest child will be going to college next year. As a whole, I mean, why I'm asking is because I guess I just want to close this chapter in my life. From 2002 to now, I love my freedom and I do not want to go back. So there's no way I'm going back to prison, jail, screw that. But I just want to close that chapter in my life completely. I'm already on to chapter 2, which I've said. So, and it just continue to be that role model for my kids, which I think I'm doing pretty good. They're all graduating to this point. Very active, play all sports. My daughters are all conference, all state, basketball, softball, volleyball. And they go to Notre Dame Academy in Green Bay. So like I said, my son likes to go hunting. He's an outdoorsman. I can't go with him. They go to shooting ranges, things like that. Things I can't do. So I guess that's really the reason why I would like a pardon. As you can see, I did get 3 letters of recommendations from 3 different jurisdictions, which have known me throughout the years when I was at my worst till now. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Waldrup. I'll open it up for questions from the board.
So, morning, Mr. Waldrup. If I understood you correctly, you were on probation when you got released in 2002?
I was on parole.
Parole.
Yes.
And then in 2004, though, you got arrested and convicted for a theft of a wallet.
Yeah, I made a dumb mistake when I got out. One learning moment. I was at a gas station. I seen a wallet on top of the gas pump. I took the money out of it, and that was one of the dumbest mistakes since I've been released. So,
what I wanted to ask about with respect to that was, it looked like you were held and turned over to your parole officer, and what happened?
I was released. I had ended up paying the money back, and I wrote a letter of apology. I believe I wrote apology to the gentleman, and for my parole officer to give. And I don't remember exactly, but I don't think nothing came of it. I mean, I got the charge, but I think they just extended it or added it to my supervision. If I were to do something again, then they would have revoked me and sent me back to prison.
All right. And then what's the status of your driver's license today?
I have a commercial driver's license. I have a commercial license with a hat. Well, I did have a hazmat when I was a tech at Courtney, which, that process is pretty grueling too. You got to go through a lot of verifications to get a hazmat endorsement.
All right. Because it looked like in the late 90s you had.
Yes, very bad. Very bad.
Picked up some speeding tickets more recently, as late as 2018 or something. The other one I wanted to ask you about was in 2009, you had a deferred prosecution agreement.
I think would that be?
It was for disorderly conduct.
Oh, so yeah, okay. No problem. I forgot about that one. So my girlfriend at the time, mother of my children, we were in a bad relationship. We both got that. She was more the aggressor. I did my part. I couldn't get away the way I needed to. The police were called. I completed the 32-week course, and I believe it got erased or expunged or whatever. And I had to write a letter, and I completed that successfully.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Waldrup, have you paid in full all of the restitution owed?
Yes, that was part of the stipulation of me getting off parole. Everything had to be paid. So, and it was being taken out while I was incarcerated. So part of the money that came in went to that. And then as I got out, I had to pay all that stuff back. I forgot what my parole officer's name was, but that's all. That was a stipulation. I believe I got off a little early at parole because everything was paid off.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from the board?
No.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We will move to the next applicant, which is Andre Dallas, and I will note that Reverend McVicker is no longer participating for these last two applicants. Mr. Dallas, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, there you are.
Good morning, board. My name is Andre Dallas. I was charged with 3 counts of burglary, home invasion, party to a crime in February of 2014. I started at UWM studying business management in the fall of 2013. In February of 2014, 2 associates and myself were going room to room in UWM housing dorms with the attempt to take personal belongings. We entered rooms that were unlocked. If the rooms were locked, we moved on to the next unlocked dormitory. I was sentenced to 10 months in the House of Corrections in September of 2014 with 3 years of probation. I served 3 months in the House of Corrections with Huber and was released daily for work and school. I was working for the Milwaukee County Parks and going to school at Concordia University, where I studied business management as well. The remaining 7 months, excuse me, I was placed on house arrest and was still able to leave for school and work. Since the completion of my sentence, I have started my own trucking company, Dallas Trucking, operating semi-trucks around the city of Milwaukee and Chicago, delivering goods. I have been in business since 2017. I operate 2 tractors and 4 dry van trailers. I recently hired an employee from the city of Milwaukee this past February. I got married in January of 2023 and have 2 children with my wife. We recently purchased our first home together in 2022. I feel as if I should receive a pardon because I made a mistake in my past and have grown from it. I was hanging with the wrong group of friends and not heading in the direction that I should have been. I have graduated with my associate's degree in business management and have successfully been in business for almost 7 years. If granted this pardon, I will be able to expand my business and bid on governmental contracts and accept high-value freight loads that do not accept individuals with felonies on their record. I will also be able to work with new customers who would not have accepted me previously with my felony convictions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dallas. I'll open it up to questions.
Mr. Dallas, let's talk about these robberies that you were involved in. You and the 2 other guys planned to do these robberies, correct?
Yes.
And you went into the dorm rooms and took electronic stuff and took it back to your room, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in your room, on your bed, was a loaded 9mm stolen handgun, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is pretty serious stuff, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. And you've had 10 years to think about this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the best you can say in your application is I don't know why I took these items. You don't have any more insight into why you did this or how it affected other people?
Yes, I'm sure it definitely affected the other people. I think we took those items in the attempt to sell them because we were in college, not having a lot of money, just looking for quick payday, I guess you would say. And then the gun, that was one of my associates' gun, and we weren't attempting to take that with us during the robberies. That was something that he had just got, and we were just hoping to maybe take it to the gun range and fire it, but not with the intent to take it along with us while we were going to the different dormitories.
I think when they searched your car, they found ammunition for the 9mm gun in your car, correct?
Yes, sir. That was my associate with me as well. Had the gun and then had the ammo as well, and it was left in the car, but that wasn't my handgun or anything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it sounds like there are no further questions for you, Mr. Dallas, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our last applicant this morning is George Height.
It says you cannot start your video because, oh, okay, here we go. All right, there we go. Hello, I'm George Height. I'm 46 years old. I live in Cadott, Wisconsin. In the summer of 1996, I was 18 years old. I lived in a sixplex apartment complex. Down in the basement, they had 6 storage units down there, all made out of wood with padlocks on them. I had went down there, pried off the padlock of one of the units and took some hand tools, power tools, things, you know, them kind of things. I think it was the next day, officer had came, talked to me a little bit. I denied it, said I didn't do it. After talking for a while, I finally admitted, said, yeah, I did take them. He said, well, you know, return them, you know, look better, all that kind of stuff. So I did, I returned them. I ended up receiving 45 days jail with Huber and 18 months probation. Everything was completed, no incidences or anything like that. I was convicted of the burglary of a building or dwelling. I was also convicted damage to property misdemeanor, which was dismissed out of all that kind of stuff. What have I done since then? When I was 20 years old, I ended up, wife and I ended up buying a trailer. We spent 10 years down there, paid it off. I had a lot of goals and everything was fine. When I was 30, we bought some land and a house out here in Cadott. I've been doing that for years. Everything was fine. I did end up having an incident where I was getting prescribed pain medication, which became an addiction. That went on for about 5 years. I went to the Hazelton Betty Ford Clinic in Center City, Minnesota for their 30-day program. Completed that program. So now I've been clean since January 15th of 2015. After all that, everything was good. Work's been good. I've only had a handful of jobs. My former employer that I was working at, I did lose my job after 13 years because of my drug use. The current job I'm at now, I've been there for 10 years. I started gaining a lot of weight. Ended up having a surgery, bariatric surgery at the Mayo Clinic for the bariatric program. Did all that. That was 3 years ago. Through all that process now, what have I been doing as far as the community goes with that is I'm also a guest speaker now with the Mayo Clinic bariatric program. You have to go through the program and there's 10 classes you have to go through. So I do that. I've also now been invited to the Chippewa Valley Treatment Facility. It's a prison here in Chippewa County. It's all male and it's for criminals who have addiction issues and things like that. So I go tell my story. And I am part of the, addiction recovery community around here. Try to be involved with all of that kind of stuff and talk with people. about my story and things like that. Also, they have a once a month group meeting for the bariatric program as well that I get invited to. So I tell my story on that part, which in my mind I think is for me it helped me through both my addictions as far as for the opiates and stuff like that. A few of the reasons why I think that I would like to receive the pardon is through my work right now, there's a good possibility that I'll take over the company someday, or if not, actually run it when the boss is gone, things like that. But we have contracts with our vendors that have contracts with the government. So we have to have ITARs, international traffic and arms regulations, things like that, NDAs that we have to sign. My concern is that once that eventually does happen and I possibly take over, existing customers might want to, hey, who's the new guy that's running the show over there, things like that. Let's just look into them a little bit. Well, they might want to drop you as a customer, and obviously, new customers, if they're interested in your company and they want you to do work for you, they might want to look me up as well, and stuff like that. So that's a big concern of mine. Another reason why is that my wife and I are, we're still pretty young. Both our children are out of the house. We like to travel. We do a couple of trips every year. We would like to travel, out of the United States, things like that. That would be great. Would do things like that if we could. But otherwise, no incidences. No nothing. Employment's been great for many years now. I don't really have a lot of issues, and it's pretty basic in my life these days.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Height. Questions from the board?
Good morning. Not sure where that static is coming from. At least I'm hearing static. Right, I noticed that your probation was extended like twice. Once in 97 and in 98. What was that?
Oh, that was for repayment. So they started adding fees onto probation back then. So, for example, I think you had to pay $25 a month, things like that. My first probation officer, I wasn't paying for just that. All the restitution, well, actually there was no restitution, but all of them fees. So that got extended for the fees on that. Yeah, it was like $880, I think it was. And then when I got switched probation officers to a new one, she had informed me, and then that's when I started paying off to get that done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Height, it was a long time ago, and I'm not sure you have an answer to this question, but why would an 18-year-old kid steal a vacuum cleaner?
It was in there with the storage unit. And I was taking other things, and honestly, it's something I obviously would have ended up using. I could have sold it. It was a long time ago.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One question. I may have said it just in case it's static or something. I don't know if you guys heard it as well. How long have you been clean and sober?
It'll be 10 years on January 15th of 2025. Yep. And when I went to treatment, I gave up everything. No drinking, nothing, no drugs, no. All through my surgery that I had and everything like that, I sat with my doctor and we came up with a game plan for aftercares and all that kind of stuff with pain management and stuff. It's just part of. It's not part of my life anymore at all. Absolutely not.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so that is our last applicant for the morning. With that, the board will be moving into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning a case which is before the board for purposes of considering specific applications, and for purposes of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. Is there a motion from the board to move into closed session?
So moved.
Judge Kremers moves. Is there a second? Mr. Cooper seconds. Is
Sorry about
there?
that. Yeah, I'm trying to mute.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, hearing none, we are therefore moved into closed session. We will now wait for the live stream to stop and to move anyone left into the waiting room. Okay, welcome everyone to our afternoon session of the July 12th Governor's Pardon Advisory Board meeting. I am Leslie Freehill. I'm the Governor's Deputy Legal Counsel. Joining me today are members of the Pardon Advisory Board as follows. We have Anthony Cooper, Sr. He's the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Reentry Services for NEMA Center for Urban Leadership Development. He received a pardon from Governor Evers in January of 2021. We have Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the Director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, Deputy District Attorney, and an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. Next, we have Judge Jeffrey Kremers, Attorney General Josh Paul's nominee to the board. He has served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, serving as Chief Judge for 7 of those years, and he retired in 2018. Next, we have Reverend John McVicker, Sr. He's the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He additionally serves as board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. And finally, we have Cindy O'Donnell, who served as Deputy Secretary of the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. So before we begin with our afternoon applicants, I'm going to go through a few housekeeping items. First, note that the hearing is being live streamed currently on WISI and YouTube. Please mute yourselves and keep video turned off until it's your turn to help ensure our audio and visual quality. If you run into IT issues when you're called for your testimony, please don't worry. Someone from our staff will give you a call to try to assist and straighten those out, and the board will return to you once those IT issues have been resolved. We are going to call people up in the order listed on the open meetings notice. You'll have 3 to 5 minutes to share your story and answer the questions we sent in advance of the meeting, which are a brief summary of your offenses and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement and employment, and a brief statement about why you think you should receive a pardon. Note that I will prompt you if you're running over your 3 to 5 minutes because we have to be sure that we have time for the board to ask questions of each applicant. The board members may or may not ask you questions about your application. Please do not read into that. Be assured that the board has reviewed your full application materials. Once the board is done asking questions, you are welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing, or you may remain if you prefer. Once everyone is heard, the board will meet in closed session to decide whether to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of the board members present. The governor will either accept or reject the application. Either way, you will be notified in about a month or two from today. With that, I'm ready to call up our first applicant of the afternoon, Mr. David Powell. Mr. Powell, I see someone represented in the Zoom as David Powell, but we cannot see or hear you.
See me now?
Yes, I'll turn it over to you.
My name is David Patrick Powell. I'd like to thank the advisory board for today's hearing. I am a father of 3 children, adults, and I have 2 grandchildren. I was charged with three counts of burglary when I was like 20 years old. I got sentenced. I got 3 years probation and community service and restitution, which all has been completed, you know, and the restitution was joint and several. I am a homeowner, a home independent contractor. I do flooring. I've done community service for like Habitat, and I also play in a band, and we did many benefits. Our band has, and it has been 31 years since my conviction. It would mean a lot to me if I wasn't labeled as a felon. Having a party would greatly increase my employment, because I'm in many people's houses, you know, doing flooring work, and I would like to hunt with my grandchildren, you know. I guess that's, if they got any questions for me, or I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. I will open it up for questions.
Mr. Powell, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I see that your probation was extended 4 years in a row. What was that about?
It was supposed to be 3 years, but my PO, he made a mistake. I got a new PO, and she said, "You're getting off probation today." So then after I got a new probationary officer, she says, "You're getting me off today." So that was when I got off.
I understand that, but it was extended in 1995, again in 96, again in 97, and again in 98. Why was your probation extended each of those times?
What I've got out of it, they made a mistake on probation, and they kept extending it. And yeah, I have no idea why it was so extended. It was only supposed to be 3 years. Maybe I don't know. My restitution was probably paid, you know.
Well, was it or wasn't it? Did you pay restitution?
Yeah, when I got my new probationary officer, she said, "You're getting off today," and I was off probation that day.
I understand that, but did you pay restitution?
Yes, I did.
How much restitution did you pay?
It was joint and several.
I don't care.
It was
how much you paid.
I paid was like 4,000 and something.
And when did you pay that?
That was within the 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't understand that neither, really.
And did you have a domestic violence conviction at some point in here? 2007?
Don't believe 2007. I may have. No, I didn't.
You don't know whether you had
I don't believe I did.
Or were you charged with domestic violence, misdemeanor battery and disorderly conduct, and then allowed to plead to a county disorderly conduct ticket as a result of the situation?
Yes.
Okay, what was that? What happened?
I think that was when I was on Judge Mathis. Was that for Judge Mathis?
I don't know. I'm asking you. You got arrested for domestic violence, right?
It's been so long ago. Yeah, that was for Judge Mathis. Yeah.
I don't know who Judge Mathis is. Did you get in a fight with your partner?
It was an argument, but
okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Powell, you, in your application for question 11, you say, the time since my conviction has been 29 years. I have not committed any more crimes.
It was 31. Yeah.
Okay. And then you wrote, I have not committed any more crimes. But in 2009, you had a misdemeanor resisting and obstructing, correct?
Misdemeanor. I don't recall that. Maybe misdemeanor obstruction. That was for child support, probably. Yes, could have been.
So, I mean, the DA opposes your application because you weren't honest in it. Saying that you have no other crimes since this one, and then you did have other crimes, that's not being honest in your application, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Powell?
Yes. Hey, Mr. Powell, did someone help you with your application, or did you fill this application out yourself?
Yes, I had help with the application.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but because the reason for me asking is just the fact that it seems like there's a lot that you don't know, or it's not into your application. Was it a service or organization or?
No, my mom helped me with my application, you know.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you for your time, Mr. Powell.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Next we'll move on to Mr. Liddell Briggs.
Hello. Sorry about that, Blair. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You may take it from here.
Okay. My name is Liddell Briggs, Liddell Bernard Briggs. I am applying for governor's pardon for a couple of reasons. One is to make sure that as I move forward in ministry, you know, I don't have any of my past hindering my future. And that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and just read, unless you guys have already read it, my autobiography and how I got in trouble and stuff like that. Is that okay? Or I've never done this before, so I need a little direction.
No problem. Mr. Briggs, is the written statement something that you submitted with your application?
It is.
Okay, then the board has been able to review that. So
Okay.
in your own words, if you'd like to use just a few minutes to describe the offenses, what you've done since then, and why you should have a pardon.
Okay.
We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. I was living a lifestyle, that really wasn't conducive to being productive member of society. It was half and half. I was doing right, but I was doing wrong. And we ended up in a situation where at the time, my girlfriend, her name was Shira, was on a date, and then we had an escort service, and she ended up taking a car from a person for payment because they had some drugs during their date, and then he didn't want to pay for it. Now, at the time, I was at work. I didn't know, and honestly, I did not know. And when I got the car, we had been talking about getting one anyway, so I really thought it was ours, and it wasn't. Long story short, and so by the time I realized it was 3 years later. And what I mean by that is that, the police was looking for me and stuff like that. So, and not for me, but for the car. So I got stopped in, I think, 88, coming out of the house, a friend of mine, house off of Capitol, and they had stopped me, gave me a ticket to see the lieutenant in Brookfield, and told me that, I had a court date. So I did all that, ended up getting 3 years probation. While I was incarcerated, got into it with a young man who, made me feel offended because of, it was crowded in the jail. It's a T in the county jail. It's like a T, a big T, kind of wide. I was laying on it, kind of in a fetal position. He sat down in my space between my stomach and crotch. And then when I pushed him away from me, someone who had got booked with him came in and said, or watched him get booked, came in and said, hey, he just got booked for molesting an 8-year-old. And that really kind of ticked me off. So one thing led to another. I made the first punch. It was kind of a reaction. Everybody else, and quite a few, not everybody, a lot of people in the jail went to beating him as well as me hitting him first. If I had to do all over again, seriously, knowing what I know now after, the 346 days of being incarcerated, being taken away from my family, my life. I had a job when all that happened. I was making $10 an hour, working 70 hours a week. I lost that. I mean, it was just one big cluster mistake after another. And so even at that particular time, me and Sherry had already broken up, and I had my lady, Shira, who is my wife now, sitting here listening to me do this, was here. We were trying to find a new place, and I just made a lot of mistakes. I don't want to sit up and act like I was a righteous person, because I wasn't. But while I was in jail, I got a chance to read Old Gideon Bibles, kind of reddish orange in color. And when I got finished reading it, I had to read it again because it kind of got really good. And after I read that Bible, I just was never the same. And I knew when I got out, I could never go back to that lifestyle of, escorting and DJing, any of it. And I didn't. I mean, I did spin records for a little while, but until we got married, which was April 2nd, And on the 25th of March, which was my birthday, we had my last party and my send off a marriage party. And I never spent another record. I never stayed in the streets again. Had a couple of incidents with police contact, I think in 2005 and 97, or 97, 98. However, those incidents ended up me, I think I did 45 days for possession. Like I said, all these were misdemeanors, they weren't felonies. And then had a situation where my sister had said some nasty stuff to my dad, and so it was domestic violence, but they let me go on that too. They didn't convict me. So other than that, I don't think I had any other police contact. And I started going to church when I first got out of jail, and my pastor was Pastor Benjamin Neighbors, and at Great Faith Progressive Missionary Baptist Church on Hopkins and Hampton. And so he started to teach me, and when I told him I thought I was called to preach, he let me join the ministers' meetings. And when I was sure, he began to teach me, and I continued to learn and continue to teach, do Bible studies, just do everything I could around the church. 23 years, even after he passed away, I stayed. And I just fell in love with ministry. I fell in love with the Lord. I fell in love with people. And so my life has just totally changed. It's been a long time. So I started a charter bus company in there, and I drove truck in there. There's just a lot of things that I've done to help the community. I joined Zeitler Center for Public Construction. I was a facilitator for Zeitler Center with Catherine PhD. I forget her last name, but Catherine, she was the PhD leader there, and she taught me how to be a facilitator. And so we helped county do some stuff. We helped the police neighborhood do some stuff with Pastor Calhoun up on Fort Washington. And we're all around the city in different places between neighbors and police. So I facilitated that for about 5 years. What else have I done in the city?
And Mr. Briggs, we have had the chance to review,
Okay.
the things that were in your
Gotcha.
application.
Okay.
So I apologize for interrupting you, but I just want to make sure that we have time for any questions the board may have for you.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, I'm nervous, so I'm
No problem. We
So,
understand.
okay.
With that, I'll just open it up for some board questions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reverend Briggs. I've got a question. So today, I heard you say this twice, I think, but I didn't see this in your application. You said you were running an escort service?
Well, that's what it was. So it was called Bonjour Escort Service, and it was at the same time I had the DJ service. So yes.
Well, I want to focus on the escort service. You're talking about women for sex, for dates.
Yes.
Okay. And then I noticed you were revoked your probation was revoked in 1990.
Yes.
But at the time of your discharge from supervision, you owed $8,636.09 for restitution.
Okay.
You ever paid that?
I didn't know I owed it. Nobody said nothing to me. Not that I know of.
You don't remember it when you were sentenced? The judge ordered bank rest.
I do not. I do not. And that I would have paid.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If there's something.
No, I would have paid it. Right now, I'm shocked because no, I didn't know about $8,000.
Okay.
Until right now.
Thank you.
Reverend Briggs, is your work at the hospitals, is that a full-time chaplaincy job?
It is at Freighter. It's part-time at St. Luke's. I just started last week back at St. Luke's. I trained there, but
Yeah,
that's just
I saw that. That's where you did your CPE, right?
yes,
And you also pastor your own church?
yes, yes. God's Grace Community Church is it's online mostly right now. We're still looking for. We can't afford a building, so.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Any other board questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Briggs.
Thank you.
Next, we have John Schroeder.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, my name is John Schroeder. I was born 1965. I think I was 41 when I got convicted of felony burglary to a dwelling. I used to live in the building. And at the time, I salvaged the building had been condemned after I moved out. And I salvaged the antique tin ceiling from the bar room to make $500 to buy a moped, because when I was out of work living with an older gentleman, not having a job or anything like that, I was really desperate. And I let my hindsight slip, and like I think it's Mr. Hancock will agree. I mean, I should have been trusting in God more, and I wasn't. I mean, it took me I knew I'd get caught, and I was just kind of hoping they wouldn't get upset being the building was condemned, and they did. And the public defender never got nothing in evidence what the ceiling was worth, so the judge had nothing to go by, where the prosecutor had the estimate for a brand new ceiling. And I about turned blue in the court when I got nailed at $14,000 restitution. Like, oh my God. And I mean, am I sorry? Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's not that I got caught. I mean, I'm just deeply sorry in every way, shape, and form. And I mean, I even stated in a letter that I wrote myself that kind of like Shawshank Redemption. I mean, I'd like to go back and talk to myself and say, hey, this is how things are today. Don't do this. But obviously, I can't do that. It's kind of like Red in the movie says, all that's left is this old man sitting there. I mean, the judge gave me 7.5 years probation. He figured flipping burgers at Burger King or something like that, this is how long it's going to take to make that much money up. Where I did the 42 days, I did the probation, all is clear. And I ended up doing a newspaper out for 16 years. I started right after I got out of jail. And I went, and up to about a year ago, I was the newspaper I'll give up. Well, then I had to find something different. So I was told to go to the Blue Heron Brew Pub, which you can see my shirt. April 7th of last year, I was hired at the Blue Heron Brew Pub washing dishes. When I'm not doing dishes, I peel 300 pounds of potatoes a week, which I kind of name myself Klinger sometimes. And I get labeled dinosaur man at the brew pub a lot because I'm literally the oldest guy there. I mean, I'm not one that I don't really know how to go out in public and do charity work and nothing like that. On my routes, I always did special favors for the customers where I could, like one elder lady couldn't take her garbage out, so I did it for her, stuff like that. And I was loved by everybody on my routes. Over the 16 years since then, I've had several Honda Metropolitan mopeds, and because of Christmas tips from the customers, I've never had to pay cash for the moped, the license, or insurance on any of them. It was all paid by Christmas tips. And today I have a 2017 and a 2013 moped. The 2013 died last year. I paid $1,200 to have it rebuilt. The 2017, when I got that one, was $2,000. half the money come from Christmas tips of New Zealand, the other half come from the pandemic when they had those big $1,400 checks come out. But other than that, I mean, I'm living in a house today where the homeowner presently is sitting in Wisconsin Rapids. He got himself in trouble. The biggest reason I want to pardon is because, well, I don't want this black cloud hanging over my head for the rest of my life. It's been 17 years. And because the homeowners in Rapids, the house mortgages are in his name. And should he end up losing the mortgages and all that, well, I'd have to move. So, in order to rent another apartment, you fill out an application for an apartment. When it says, "Are you a convicted felon?" You check yes. Well, you're gone. I mean, it's dead in the water. I mean, I got purely lucky that the homeowner that owns this house, he was the only chance I had to find any place. Otherwise, I'd have been homeless all this time. But other than that, but I'd like to give a shout out to the people in Milwaukee, the free legal clinic that you guys have in Milwaukee. A couple of years ago, I read in the newspaper where Mr. Evers was signing pardons, and I just flipped. I'm like, really? So I got a hold of it. I got a hold of the legal clinic in Milwaukee. Because of them, I mean, I had no idea how to do this. And because of them, I'm talking to you today.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions from the board.
All right. Ask me anything.
Mr. Schroeder, according to our records, you still owed $5,700 at the time of your discharge for restitution. Did you ever pay that?
I actually did some, but nobody really seemed to give it. Nobody really seemed to care because the billing had already been gone long before that.
So you never paid it all off?
Oh, I never did. No.
Okay.
It was. I mean, I've been told that the homeowner at the time really didn't care no more because the billing had already been gone long before I was even on probation.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other board questions for Mr. Schroeder? Okay, thank you for your time.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
No, well, it's Friday night at the brew pub. I'll be up to my neck in dishes, I'm sure.
Okay, well, next we'll move on to Jackie Pier.
Hello.
Hi there, we can see and hear you, so you can take it from here.
Okay. Kind of nervous, but I guess I'll start with the case back in 1995, which is almost 30 years ago. I don't make any excuses for it. I knowingly went to, I thought, confront some people with some friends, and they ended up committing a robbery. I spent from 95 to 99 in prison. It was my first and only offense. During that time, I completed all my programs. I helped new inmates transition into prison. I learned new skills. Some of the programs that I completed were anger management, cognitive intervention. I also took it upon myself to sit into AODA meetings, which I've never touched drug or alcohol, but I wanted to understand people's vices and learn from bad choices that they made and how it can affect their lives. I also took a parenting class while I was in there, although I wasn't a parent, to teach myself responsibility, listening, and patience. While I was incarcerated, I met Sergeant Darrick, who I was still in contact even after release, and he taught me how to do flooring. I also took horticulture classes. After I was released, my brother picked me up from prison, Oak Hill, and he brought a newspaper with him. Before I even got home from prison, we stopped at a Kohl's department store. I saw that there was a company that was looking for a floor tech. So we bought a shirt and tie, and I went immediately to that company and was hired on the spot before even making it home. I'm a little nervous right now, but so I worked as a flooring tech. I ended up starting my own company, doing floors. Soon after, I became a parent with my son. His mom and I started a cleaning service where we were helping youth, also hiring convicted felons to integrate them back into the communities. I started a private transportation company. I also started an AAU basketball team for inner city youth, and I began driving as an Uber driver to help offset the money so that the parents wouldn't have to come out of pocket for that. I teach skilled trades to this day. I still have my home improvement business. Being a convicted felon, I never used it as an excuse. I just used it as an obstacle that I had to overcome. The only time that I felt hurt or embarrassed by this was as my son got older and I coached his elementary school team for 4 years as a volunteer. The school had me fill out a paper, and they ended up firing me because of this. I never wanted my son to see me give up or anything or fail because of a felony. So I never let it stop me from doing anything. Now, and this is, I guess, the emotional part. Since I applied for this pardon, my son had just turned 20 years old. And he was killed in a car crash by a reckless driver. So now I'm starting a nonprofit organization. I've been in communications with Todd Miller from the mayor's office here in Milwaukee, Kyle Ashley from the governor's office, Assistant Chief Formello, Alderman Ashanti Hamilton. And I really want to honor my son the proper way by having this Our Shining Star Foundation be successful, gathering other families that have been traumatized by senseless acts of violence, apprenticeship programs, teaching young kids skilled trades, which I feel has diminished, barbering skills, tattoo apprenticeships, and tutoring. I have a lot of community support from those different types of businesses that are willing to be part of this. Again, I just want to honor my son and create higher goals for myself, whether that be career or education. One of the biggest battles that I'm having now, as we're still awaiting the trial, is I don't know that I've even started the grieving process because the people that I've talked to had been in this seat before. So I want to go to school to become a grievance counselor so that when people speak to me, I can counsel them out of experience. I was forced to be in this position, but Denari's mother and I have tried our best to turn pain to purpose. And that's where I am today, just trying to do something different for the community and honor Denari.
Thank you for sharing your story, Mr. Pier, and we're so sorry for your loss. We can take a minute to pause before we move into questions if you'd like to take some time.
I'm fine.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pier.
Good afternoon.
A couple of questions. One, is it correct that you still owe just about $4,000 in restitution?
No, I do not. I completed all of that with Yvonne Davis, who was my probation officer.
Because according to the Department of Corrections, at the time of your discharge, you still owed $3,785 in restitution.
No, I was paying every week. I had employment from the moment that I left Oak Hill, and I was paying paying restitution to Miss Yvonne Davis.
Well, how much restitution do you think you paid? How much were you paying a week?
You know what? This is 30 years ago, so I really don't know, but I know terms of my probation were to not get in any more trouble and to have restitution paid before I would be released from that.
All right. Second question. You describe in your application this crime as one where you and your friend stayed in the car and you saw this third person who you really didn't know getting into some kind of a struggle with another person. And then you realized that that person was trying to take something from the victim. And that's when you and your friend went to the car and left.
Correct.
Okay. The criminal complaint that you pled guilty to describes a totally different situation where you and Mr. Prado were the two individuals that approached the victim and struggled with him, threatened him with a gun, not you, but Mr. Prado. But then you're the one that grabbed the bag and eventually let go and you ran off with the bag. So were you involved in it like that? Or are you saying you weren't involved in all, in which case I'm wondering why you pled guilty?
Well, to answer your first question, and like I said in the opening statement, I was present. And I've taken a responsibility and accountability for that. When I got in the car, I thought that it was to go confront someone that Mr. Prada had issue with. When we arrived, I noticed that it was something totally different. And when I saw what was going on, I ran. I did not take anything. The reason I pled guilty to that is because I was facing 40 years in prison. The only reason that my name was mentioned in this complaint was because the victim and some other people that were there were beating Mr. Prada, and he gave my name. When I was arrested, I told them my side of the story. So I've never shied away from my involvement in it, and I still don't.
Well, okay, it sounds like you are. If the complaint is accurate, that you were involved in confronting the victim and trying to get property from him.
I was involved.
What I don't know what you pled guilty to or why you pled guilty to something that you had no part in setting up, didn't know what was happening, and when you did, you took off. I'm not sure why you would plead guilty to a 10-year felony.
Because I was there. And like my attorney at the time told me, If I was there and I didn't stop it from happening, I am party to a crime to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Pier?
Mr. Pier,
Yes, sir.
the final decision is up to the governor, but the judge in Milwaukee County who reviewed your application supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
Supported, encouraged. It lets me know that since my release, I've been doing everything necessary to warrant that support. And it makes me feel grateful.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time today, Mr. Pier.
Thank you.
Next, we have Eric Evans.
Hello.
Mr. Evans present? I don't see Mr. Evans present. So let's move to our next applicant, who is Stuart Moman.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well,
Can
Mr.
you-
Moman. We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay, let me start the video.
I don't see Mr. Evans present. So let's move to our next
I might get a minute. It says the video started. Can you?
We can see and hear you. I'm hearing something additional as well. So if there's anyone else who is not on mute, please mute yourself.
Yes.
Okay, I will hand it over to you now, Mr. Moman.
It says the video started. Oh, hello, how you doing? My name is.
I hear you. I'm hearing something additional as well.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Mr. Moman, do you have your phone on too?
Hello, how you doing? Can you hear me now?
That's
Yes.
better. Thank you.
Okay. How you doing? My name is Stuart Moman. I'm here requesting a pardon for I had a possession with intent in 1992 of cocaine. I was influenced by my neighborhood and the people that I was associated with at the time. And in 1996, I had a possession of marijuana in which I was using marijuana at the time. And currently, I have not been using for the last 20 years. And in 98, I also had a possession of a firearm charge, which I thought that I needed for protection in order to protect myself and my family at the time. Since 1998, I haven't been in any trouble. I've changed my life for the better, tried to be a positive influence in the community. Can you see me? I'm sorry. Can you see me? Hello?
Yes, we can see and hear you. Now we cannot hear you. You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, since 1998, I've tried to be a positive influence and I've changed my life, hopefully for the better. I went to 2 colleges. I graduated from MATC in Milwaukee and then continued on to Metro State College in Denver. I have a degree. I've also went to truck driving school, started my own business, in which I'm doing currently. I've been employed as an owner operator for the last 15 years with this company. I'm also a homeowner. I'm an active community. I'm active in the community for supporting the youth and mentoring and going to church and my men's group at church, support group that I'm involved in as well when I'm at home, because I am a long haul truck driver, and a lot of the felony has impacted my life. There's a lot of accounts. We do a lot of military government contracts, which I cannot get on base. I cannot, indulge in them accounts. So it has affected my life and in housing as well. It's been hard, with the felony on my record. I'm trying to just make a better change for the better, and hopefully you'll find grace and mercy in giving me the pardon so I can obtain and become a productive member of society.
Thank you, Mr. Moman. Questions from the board?
One question as far as, and you may have said it, I probably didn't hear you. I was just wondering, how long have you been a truck driver?
For 17 years.
Thank you.
And it's been hard. Hello?
Yes. Are there any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moman. You have a good day.
Thank you. You guys too as well. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I'm going to circle back to Eric Evans. Are you present now? Great. You are on mute.
How you doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You can begin.
Well, I'm ready for a new start at life. When I made my poor choices, I was 17, and I'm 32 now, and my life has been a total 180 of what I was training to at that time. I was able to learn a lot about myself within the last 15 years about, how I wanted to represent myself and my family. And I was able to create some things in the time. I started a business at 22, and it's been a decade now, and I have, a bunch of employees, and I'm trying to just go to that next level without any roadblocks. And I've been pretty active in the community with the youth and with my peers, and I'm looking to just continue that that trend of doing great things and being a better person for myself and my family and my community.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. I'm going to open it up for questions from the board.
All right.
Mr. Evans, a couple of things. You had non-support and a paternity challenge. What was that all about?
I'm sorry.
You had a paternity post adjudication and non-support, I think.
When I was growing up for my family, or are you speaking?
Yeah, no, in 2018, you had a contempt order for child support.
Okay, so I know I had a custody battle for my son for a few years, and the child support was being weaponized at that time, but we were able to get everything squared away. I don't owe any back child support or anything like that, and we have joint custody and joint placement of my son. And I guess at that time it was a battle, but we are squared away, and we're very progressive than what we were at that time.
Okay, in 2024, so this year, there was an incident involving felony strangulation and suffocation, domestic abuse. What's that all about?
At that time, me and a current girlfriend, we were dating, and I had actually called the police about that incident. There was domestic violence between me and her. She definitely, uh, I made prior calls. I was calling, hey, you know, this woman is kind of out of control. You know, I was calling, and you know, she told them that I had choked her, and which she later on went and told wasn't true. She told, you know, that the DA, it wasn't true. And, you know, everything was kind of resolved from there, and we went our separate ways after that. That was a isolated incident, you know, but it was very it was intense, you know, and we both decided to go our separate ways after that.
That was just a few months ago, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Well, Mr. Evans, in 2000, and so you got probation in 2009, a couple of years for this theft from person. And then in 2015, you were convicted of 2 counts of theft, originally charged as a felony theft, but it was amended to, looks like, or you pled guilty to the 2 misdemeanor counts, I guess, and you were ordered to pay restitution. And it looks like there's still $4,600 in restitution owing on that charge from 2017. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And what was that theft about?
So at that time, I was struggling with a gambling addiction, and I was out at a casino, and I had lost some money, and I smacked the chips off the table out of frustration, and the some chips weren't found, and you know, I got charged with that, and you know, I pled guilty to it, and I did my time. And as far as the restitution, honestly, I wasn't 100% aware that I did owe any balance, because I definitely would have taken care of that. But at that time, you know, I was definitely struggling with the gambling addiction, and I was able to move forward and be who I am today.
And then in 2018, you got a non-criminal conviction for possession of some kind of drug, I'm guessing marijuana, in Sauk County.
Yes, I was out at Wisconsin Dells, and I had a bag of weed, and yeah, they did give me a ticket for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, Mr. Evans.
All right, is there anything else you guys want to ask?
I think that's everything. Thank you.
All right, have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye.
Next we have Glenn Luther.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay. Do I have to click on start video?
Yep.
Start my video. Okay. Hey, there I am. We all good?
Yes.
Okay,
Take it
great.
away.
Well, I'm Glenn. Thanks for the opportunity. This happened 1968, 56 years way to sugarcoat it. I was a dumb kid and immature. So we were out riding around with a bunch of friends, probably 5, 6 kids, just killing time, goofing off. And we ended up at this boat landing, and we're standing around there talking and goofing off. And there was a little cabin checker, and someone got the idea of, well, should we check it out? So we kind of walked around it. I don't know if we picked in wins, I don't remember exactly, but one of the kids went around to the back and got in, I believe by force. And then he opened the front door and let the rest of us in. We were only in there a few minutes, looked around a little bit and left. So that's kind of the story on that. I know it was wrong and I had no business going in there. So I ended up getting sentenced to 3 years probation and 90 days in the county jail. So under Huber law, this went good. I had a job under Huber law. The staff and the jailers at the jail, I can still remember back then that they were good mentors and tried to influence us in a good way. I live in the same town with, as far as probation, I live in the same town with my probation officer in a small town. And we became members of many projects for him. The biggest thing that probably really turned my life around was in 1969. I met my wife, Sandy Boomsma, and we started dating. She was from a very religious, hardworking farm family, and I instantly had her friends and family as my new friends. And the kids that I had hung out with her when I haven't seen them since that day when I met Sandy. So we went together for a year. We got married. As of right now, we've been married 54 years. We had 2 kids, a son and a daughter. Unfortunately, her son passed away in 2005. I'm a respected citizen of the community. I'm personal friends with several people in law enforcement. Steve Rowe, the former sheriff of Columbia County. Again, Don Holstein, my probation officer. Mike Babcock, first deputy for Columbia County. And our company's also done several jobs for him. Jeff Becker, the chief of police in Ryle, where I live. Randy Martin, the former chief of police in Ryle, where I live. It's been at least 20 years since I've even had so much as a speeding ticket. My work history, I worked 15 years for the Milwaukee Railroad as an equipment technician. I left there when the company was sold. I had 25 years with my own remodeling business as Luther Home Improvement. We ended up closing that in 2008 with the 2008 recession, which was pretty hard on the building and remodeling industry. And then I went and drove truck for 3 years. Interesting experience, I guess, and that I probably wouldn't do again. And currently now I do, I'm an independent salesperson. I'm currently selling for, as an independent salesperson for South Central Wisconsin Roofing out of Portage. And I've been selling for them for 13 years. I feel I have great work ethic. I've life averaged about 60 hours a week, which I still do at age 74. Community, I spent 2 terms as president of the local chapter of the Wisconsin Builders Association. I spent 2 terms as president of our church council. Through my business, we've done small jobs and repairs in the community, like the fire department, the American Legion. I think the big things to do in the community is my wife Sandy and I started a fundraiser in memory of our son. It's called the Jason Luther Wild Game Feed and Fundraiser. It's a once-a-year event where we have a live auction. And what we do with the money we raise, primarily donate to kids that have a serious illness, for example, leukemia. We've also donated to other, working with other groups donate like kayaks to kids to get them involved in the outdoors. We went 17 years. We've raised and donated over $200,000. As far as education, I've probably taken over 100 what I would call short classes that range anywhere from a couple hours to 3 or 4 days. Those were all through the National Association of Home Builders and the National Association of Remodeling Industry. That was during the time when I had my remodeling business. And I guess one reason I'm asking for the pardon is as an independent salesperson, I meet one-on-one with customers in their home every day. I meet 3 customers per day on average. And so I could lose some business opportunities, or I could have already lost some business opportunities and don't even know it. So it's kind of my story. I hope I didn't go too fast. I know you guys are kind of on trying to stick to a timeline.
I was gonna say you're just about right on time. So we'll thank you for sharing, and we'll move into questions from the board.
Okay.
Mr. Luther, maybe three quick things.
Okay.
Your charity work in your son's name is really outstanding. That's just wonderful how you've turned that tragedy
thank you.
into something
And we're set up.
positive. Yeah. The other thing is sometimes we get letters from people's probation officers, though we've never gotten one 50 years later from your probation officer.
Yes.
And just a little unsolicited advice. I've been married almost as long as you have. And I just think it's better if you don't refer to your wife as your current wife.
Well, I didn't mean. I
understand. I understand. I understand.
So one thing I do have to say, Jerry, is unfortunately, since I applied for this pardon, my probation officer, Don Holstein, did pass away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That was a really effective letter that he wrote for you.
Yeah, he was a really good guy. And I think he was about 90 when he passed away.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Luther? Okay, thank you for your time.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Our next applicant is Hunter Scott.
It says I can't start the video. Oh, there we go. Can everybody see me? No. All right, sorry about that. I clicked on it a couple times. Hi everybody, thank you for having me. I want to go over the summary of offense. When I was 18 years old, me and a group of guys decided we wanted to get some marijuana. We didn't want to pay for it. I mean, that's basically what happened. We ended up setting this guy up to rob him. I know at that time I was not a productive member of society. I was kind of a knucklehead. Wasn't on the right path. After I got arrested for this, I decided to put myself on the right track. Couple bumps in the road here, but I ended up getting my HSED after actually while I was out on bond. Years later, I went through an apprenticeship program at work. I worked at, or I still currently work at Ocean Spray Cranberries, going on 19 years now. But now I'm working for the union, Machinist Union. I've been there 2.5 years. I currently sit on a industrial council of apprenticeships. The last election cycle, I was the state political director for politics. I'm very involved in politics. I lobby on workers' rights. Every chance I get, standing up for working people. I volunteered various organizations, Next Door Foundation, Guide Dogs of America. Last year, I finally graduated with my associate's degree. It took me about 5.5 years. But yeah, I ended up getting that done. It's in business management with a focus on labor studies. I believe my probation went well. I guess going back to that, sorry, I'm kind of reading off my notes. It's been a while since I filled out the application. I believe my probation went well. I had 2 years. There was 90 days. 60 of it was stayed. Did 30 days in there. Why I believe I deserve a pardon is because it's been almost 28 years. I was 18 years old. I've tried to, make amends for what I've done, representing people and doing what's right. So I have 3 daughters, which I had custody of when I got divorced, which are all now. My youngest is 21. I have 2 grandchildren as well. My 7-year-old is currently staying with me. His mother has cancer, and she's not doing well. She's doing well, but she's having some issues, so I've been taking care of him. So I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Questions from the board?
Mr. Scott, you had a misdemeanor disorderly conduct in 2000. What were the circumstances of that?
I got in an argument with my current ex-wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. We got in an argument. Police were called, and I got taken away. There was no violence. There was shouting and yelling and screaming. But yeah, that was something that I regret that as well. I know I shouldn't have been upset. I should have walked away from the situation.
It looks like that was your last police contact, though. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Scott, you applied for a pardon 3 years ago and didn't get it. What's different about this application than the one you submitted 3 years ago?
I've gotten my degree. I've gotten some promotions at work. I've done some more service and other charity work. I know that I'm a completely different person than when I was 18 years old. I'm 46 now. Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you about a specific change that I think I saw in your application? 3 years ago, you described your involvement in the marijuana deal as that you were just in the car and didn't really understand what had gone down. And in this application, you say, I was fully aware of what was happening. Is that a change in the way you described this?
Correct. Because I'm going to be honest. Last time you guys did call me out on that. It was in the police report and stuff like that. And I'm going to be honest as well, too. I didn't always fully admit to myself that was me. It's the hero mentality, I guess, or you're the hero of your own story. I never wanted to admit that. And I was. It was me. I was involved in that. Okay. And I admit that now.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for your time, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Our last applicant this afternoon is Darrick Love Jones.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon. We can see and hear you, so you can take it from here.
All right, very good. Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. A brief summary of my offenses. In 1989, I was convicted of simple robbery. 1996, I was convicted I'm sorry, in 89, I was given 7 years probation, 7 years state sentence, prison sentence. I did 1 year, I believe 1 year in the county jail for that as well. In 1996, I pleaded guilty to forgery, 5 years probation, 5 years state in Wausau and Marathon County. And then in 2002, I was convicted of child support, failure to pay child support with 5 years state, 5 years probation out of Racine and Milwaukee counties. What I've done, briefly, what I've done since then, those convictions. I know in 2002, some other minor incidents were read into the report as well, and I'm not sure about what those were exactly, but I know there was something out of Racine County. I was successfully completed all my probations early with no problems. During my probations, I paid my child support fully, paid with interest fully. As I said, I don't believe I have any more restitutions to pay. I've received a bachelor's degree 2010, my bachelor's of nursing from the University of Texas in Arlington here in Texas. In 2013, I received a master's degree as a nurse practitioner, and I'm currently working on my doctorate degree. I'll finish that at the end of the year as a doctorate of nursing practice. My employment has been as a nurse for quite some time now. I started out in 2003 as a nursing assistant at the VA Medical Center in Atlanta. Took a job at the VA Medical Center here in Dallas, where I became the lead nursing assistant. Decided to go to nursing school, presented the state board with my background. State of Texas is known for being one of the toughest in the nation on letting people get their nursing degrees with criminal convictions. So I was able to get through that successfully and receive my bachelor's in 2010. I did run into one minor accident, and after I received my bachelor's, I was tested positive for marijuana. I am a cancer survivor, and at the time I know that at the time I was going through a lot of pain during this time, and so I tried that as a remedy. I don't use THC in my pain relief anymore. I do use CBD oil, and that does help with that. The community involvement that I do, I've been working with an organization, People Uplifting People in Life, for many years now as a volunteer. I volunteer with I have 5 children, 8 grandchildren. I try to be as active as I can with them in that. I'm very active at church. I'm very active in the veteran community. One of the things that I do now, one of the jobs that I hold now, is I'm the CEO of Primary Care Solutions, a company that myself and my wife started after I received my master's degree. We currently have 10 clinics nationwide, 250 employees nationwide, one in St. Thomas, the island of St. Thomas. Why do I think I should receive this pardon? I've asked for this pardon. One of the things that I didn't ask for the pardon, it's taken me a while to ask for the pardon. I've never let my criminal convictions slow me down. Like I said, I have 5 children, 2 children. My current 2 children are being raised by myself. I'd never raised my first 3 children. So this kind of gave me an opportunity. So showing these young men, my 2 current sons, that overcoming this adversity, having the determination, no matter what you've gone through, what has happened in the past, you can get through these things. You know, you just have to have the determination, the courage, and the will to want to get through those things. It's having these convictions on my record has hindered me from growing some of my business. It hasn't stopped me, but it has hindered me. I think that I've talked to several bankers. Which is my personal banker. He said that, Darrick, if I did not have these convictions, I probably would be a little bit easier for me to find capital to grow my company. I'm not having any issues with that, and I do pray that I do get my pardon from you guys, and I hope that I've demonstrated through my actions over my lifetime here that I'm willing. I'm a good candidate for pardon. So, with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Oh, good afternoon, sir. So you had two non-support cases, one in Racine County and one in, is it Milwaukee County?
That is correct.
So how many kids do you have?
I have 5 children.
So were there children in Milwaukee County and different children in Racine County?
Yes, sir. I have 3 children, 3 adult children now from 2 mothers, and my current 2 children are with my current wife of 18 years now.
Okay, so in total, then you owed like $57,000 in back child support.
It was quite more than that. It was I paid on one case, the Racine case, I paid I want to say I paid close to somewhere between 10 and 15,000 to pay that case completely off. The other was close to 45,000, I believe, somewhere in that range to pay it off. But yeah, either way, they both were paid off.
How long did it take you to do that?
Well, you know, after I got my bachelor's degree, I worked hard at making sure that was something that we paid down. And after our business took off in 2017, I was fortunate enough to pay those bills off in full at that time.
So that was going to be my other question. You didn't finish paying off the restitution until 2000, or the child support till 2017 or 18?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Love Jones, the incident right around when you got your nursing degree, the THC incident during your cancer illness, was there a separate 2007 healthcare sanction from the state of Texas while you were practicing in some sort of healthcare capacity? Could you explain the circumstances of that?
Yes, they did. I tested positive. As I said, I tested positive for THC. They put me on 3 years probation, where I had to go through drug testing, random drug testing, and I also had to enroll in the Alcoholics AANA Anonymous at the VAMC, which I currently speak at on Tuesday nights at the VAMC here in Dallas to veterans on the pitfalls of that, how I changed my life, how you can better your life, you know, just the improvement of being a better person. That's so once I completed that, I didn't have any incidents of positive drug abuse. I didn't have any incidents while on probation. I've been released from that with no issues currently.
Okay, so that was all just one incident. There were no others.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one incident.
Thank you.
There hasn't been anything since then.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for your time, Mr. Love Jones.
All right, thank you for your time. You guys have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You as well. That is the last applicant we have for our afternoon session. So with that, we are going to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning a case which is before the board. for purposes of considering specific applications and for purposes of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. Could I get a motion from a board member to move to closed session? Okay, Judge Kramer's first, I second. Anthony?
Cooper. Yep.
Thank you. Is there anyone opposed? And hearing none, we will move